Okay. You can speak to it. No, that's fine. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Good afternoon, good evening, Littleton. Welcome to the May 22nd, 2023 Select Board meeting. We will be starting off tonight in executive session, and we will return at approximately 6:30. So, Mark, if you would.
Move the Select Board vote to enter into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. Please Mass COP Local 204. And executive session General Laws 30A, Section 21A, Purpose 2, to conduct strategy in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, interim fire chief.
Second?
All right, it's been moved and seconded. We will do a roll call vote. Karen?
Aye.
Matthew?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Can we just, one more thing too, just to remind Mark, if we could just add that to it too?
Move that the board vote to exit executive session and to reconvene in a regular session.
Don't we need to do that
Yeah,
at the
we're-
end?
Well,
That's well,
I think, but it's also, you have to let the public know you're going to be coming
so,
back in.
okay.
Oh, I see.
So we're going to
Yeah.
be coming back in.
You're going to be coming back into session, so you're not going to be staying in executive session all night.
So let's vote it as, I second it as amended.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And we'll do the roll call vote again. Karen?
Aye.
Matthew?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. We'll see you in about a half an hour, Littleton.
Okay.
And we are live.
All right. Okay, welcome, Littleton. We're back out of executive session for our May 22nd Select Board meeting. Our agenda this evening is as follows. At 6:30, we will have the organization Pledge of Allegiance, read mail. 6:35, we'll have department board updates. Looks like a lot of gift acceptances in there. 7 p.m. we'll have a public hearing for Ford Jack's application. And 7:20 we'll have a public input, member updates. 7:30 we'll make some appointments. At 7:40 we'll do licensing on Spacious Skies. 7:45 we have select board discussions on several topics. 8:15 town administrator, assistant town administrator update. 8:30 we'll do minutes, and hopefully by 8:35 we will adjourn. With that, first off, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. If you would, Mark.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Mail.
Okay. All right. So first piece we have is a notice of current openings in town boards. We've expanded this a bit to include some of the updates you'll be reviewing at the later portion of the agenda. So I won't go through everything, but some of this is either to extend existing members and again, fill the holes that we have. Next piece is our standard reminder that if you are interested, if the public is interested in signing up for notifications from the town, encourage you to go online and sign up for our Civic Ready update on that front. So great way to keep up to date on things. Next piece is notice that regarding the Town Administrator Search Committee, one of the parties that we need to bring is a citizen at large. I believe the citizen at large should ideally have some form of experience in municipal government or government in general. And so we're asking that those applications be put into our office no later than noon on Wednesday, May 31st. So, and then the select board will interview applicants at your June 5th meeting. So FYI on that front. This is a notice from LELWD to the chairman that there is currently a vacancy from Bruce Trumbull on the LELWD board. So this will be a joint appointment from the Select Board and the LELWD Board. So I believe this is taking place also on your June 5th meeting. And just to remind you that that will be.
This has been posted, that one, is that out?
That has been posted to that point, almost perfect. What a wonderful segue. All right, there you go. June 5th, again, this is the notice of that meeting that will be taking place on June 5th, joint boards for a joint appointment. I believe we've received at least one letter of inquiry already in for that, and that is, let's see, I think we're accepting it again through Wednesday, May 31st, 2023. So we'll be making a few appointments, hopefully, at that meeting on June 5th. Next piece is you are being invited to the Neshoba Valley Technical School District commencement graduation. If anyone is interested, any of the board members are interested in attending, please let us know, and we will make arrangements for you or assist you. Either that or you can RSVP directly to the contact information here for Neshoba Valley Technical School District. And that is it. That concludes our update on the mail.
All right, thank you. Moving right along, department board updates and requests. So do we want to go in order here?
Yep.
Okay.
We're going to start off, I think, Liz, you have a few that are coming in?
So, Elder and Human Services, gift acceptance. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Liz Trediak, Director of Elder and Human Services. Let's see, my first request tonight is the Friends of the Littleton Council on Aging have donated $675 to us, and this is for funding our monthly senior breakfast. We have a men's breakfast, a women's breakfast, and also a veterans breakfast that's funded elsewhere. But that is a gift from the Friends, and I am here to request respectfully that we are able to accept this donation.
Any questions on this one? No?
How long does this fund breakfast for, roughly?
Through till December.
So this will be, okay, thank you.
All right, let's do the motion.
Move the select board vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 43, Section 53A, and per its policies on solicitation and acceptance of monetary and non-monetary gifts for public purpose, to accept the donation to the Department of Elder and Human Services, EHS, in the amount of $675 from the Friends of the Littleton Council on Aging for the monthly senior breakfast fund.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you, Friends. All right, next you have another one.
Okay, second request tonight. We received $2,500 from the John C. and Eunice B. Morrison Charitable Foundation for help during these challenging times. I'd like to put $2,000 towards the TREAD Fund, which is tax relief to the elderly and disabled, and the other $500 towards the EHS Outreach and Programs Gift Fund. So I would respectfully request that be accepted as well.
Any questions? No. All right, motion, please.
Move the select board vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A, and per its policies on solicitation and acceptance of monetary and non-monetary gifts for public purpose, to accept the donation to the Department of Elder and Human Services, EHS, in the amount of $2,500 from the John C. Morrison and Eunice B. Morrison Charitable Foundation for help during these challenging times.
Second?
So moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous again. Thank you.
Thank you very
Morrison
much.
Foundation. All right. Thank you, Liz. All right. Affordable Housing Trust.
Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. Maureen Hill, Town Planner. Dave Guthrie, developer, and his partner, Chris Finneral, the developers of the new homes on Grimes Lane, has offered $10,000 for each for 2 lots to be donated to the Affordable Housing Trust for affordable housing purposes. We would like to use the same process before as routing it through CPC to allow for the state match over time. But this evening, the request is for the select board to accept the donation.
Okay, any questions on this one?
Are these payments in lieu or?
In a way. The planning board and the developer had a different opinion about whether or not inclusionary housing zoning bylaw would apply to A&R lots at the time that the A&R was endorsed. Subsequent input from town council said it wasn't at the time, but then town meeting has since rectified that oversight. So future A&R lots would require inclusionary housing payments in lieu. So in order to ease that conversation, the developer had offered $10,000 per lot.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Is this the sum of what, the planning board decision or the,
The planning board doesn't have the authority to condition an A&R, so there will be a little further discussion between the developer and the planning board at their June meeting.
and you said there was another payment in the past?
Yes, this brings the total to $50,000.
Pretty good?
Yep.
For a motion.
Move the select board vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A, and per its policies on solicitation and acceptance of monetary and non-monetary gifts for public purposes, to accept the donation to the Affordable Housing Trust, AHT, in the amount of $20,000 from the Grimes Land Investments.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, on to the library. Another gift.
Yes. Hi. Good evening. I'm Mike Conboy. I'm the assistant director here. Sam is on a well-deserved vacation, so I'm here instead. We received a $700 donation from one Gay Rose. The purpose for the donation wasn't specified, so we'd like to use that for programming and/or programming supplies at the library.
That's great. Just recognize the name, or is this the first time donation? You know? No?
I didn't know. I'm new here, so I
Oh.
didn't.
I have not seen this one before.
Fantastic. All right.
Yep.
Any questions? All right.
Move that the select board vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A, and per its policies on solicitation and acceptance of monetary and non-monetary gifts for public purpose, to accept the donation to the Reuben Hoare Library in the amount of $700 from Gay Rose for programming and programming supplies.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to all our
Great.
wonderful donors.
Yeah, that's fantastic. All right, so more updates. It looks like we're off the gifts now, onto DPW.
Fine.
Yeah, they don't give the highway department gifts.
Now we start spending money.
All right. Welcome.
Thank you. Stephen Yalling, Director of Public Works. Just here for board's recommendation for a paving bid that we've had out on the street for a few weeks. We opened bids last Wednesday. We received 8 bids. The low 4 bidders were all within $20,000 of each other, so very competitive market. Thankfully, fuel prices have sort of stabilized, so it allows for much more competitive bidding. And this, the bids actually came in under estimated value, which is a good sign. So I look for the board's recommendation to enter into contract with Lazaro Paving in the amount of the $443,855 for work on Tehadawon Road and Harwood Avenue.
That was going to be my question.
Is this part of the regular paving plan for the year? Is it the entirety of the resurfacing or not?
This is not the entire plan.
Okay.
I'll be back with multiple bids as we
Great.
go forward.
Thank you.
Do you know when this will be work will likely start?
So in the contract, I had the earliest start date was June 15th. Once we get through this step tonight, we'll reach out to Lazaro and talk scheduling and in amongst exchanging contracts and things like that. So once we get the start date, then we get posted on the website. We do handouts to the residents, and we'll drag the signboards over and things like that. Standard procedure.
Any sidewalk work with this?
Not with this, no.
All right. Familiar name, so Lazaro. Okay.
All set.
Any promotion?
Move the select board vote to award and authorize execution of a resurfacing and related work contract with Lazaro Paving Corp. of Shirley, Mass. for its bid of $443,855.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Have a good night. All right, Transportation Advisory Council, Mr. LaCroix. How are you?
Good evening. I have my presentation, I couldn't send it by email, so this
Okay, so I have it
I
here,
have a
so.
PDF of it.
Yep,
So I'm going to just work off that because of PowerPoint.
I'm all set, yep.
Thank you. Gary LaCroix, 15 Mill Road, and member of the TAC and also executive chair of the Neshoba Regional Greenway. So I know based on the current pace, you're going to like 1 minute, 2 minutes. I'm going to go past 1 or 2 minutes.
We haven't seen you in a while, so this is fine.
So I do have a fair amount of ground to cover, and I'll probably be as quick as possible.
Okay.
I tend to overdo my presentations and give you more information, figuring you can go back to it later.
Okay.
But I'll zip through it as best as I can. If you have any questions, let me know. So a little bit of background. Like I said, my name is Gary LaCroix. I've been active in town with transportation issues for the last 8 years, from the first the master plan, update committee, master plan implementation committee. Then I helped create the TAC itself. I was initial chairperson, and then from that we had the idea of Neshoba Regional Greenways. So roughly here's my agenda for tonight. I'll get through this as best we can. So next slide, please. So the Neshoba Regional Greenways, the intent of that is it all started with the idea of trying to get to the local rail trails. There's quite a few rail trails in our general vicinity, 5 or 6 of them as you can see in the slides, and try to get a better route to those rail trails. Well, the idea gets disseminated to a number of other communities in the same general region, and so a movement was born to try to create this Neshoba Regional Greenways Coalition, which is dedicated to designated safe routes to connect to things, mass transit, community centers, regional attractions, and each other. And the idea is not to have some big infrastructure project. It's really to use the existing network and designate safe routes for that network to connect these things. So it's not a big infrastructure cost. It's more a matter of making modifications to the existing roads itself to make them safer if they're not already safe. So this shows you just simply a quick graphic of Littleton and how it relates to the other rail trails around us. The red and blue show existing rail trails and those that are planned in the future. And the region itself, we kind of defined it as between 128 and 495 around the Fitchburg Route 2 corridor. So all those towns you see in that general area are all ones that we are kind of aligned with. And they all have almost 1 or 2 town accesses away from these rail trails. The ones closest to us are the Neshoba National River Rail Trail in Ayer and Bruce Freeman. So quickly, here's a quick element of our goals that we've created for the NRG Coalition. And the common themes are safety, connectivity, bicycle, pedestrian improvements, etc. So I included in the packet of information a one-page fact sheet and a brochure, so you can also reference if you want to know a little more about NRG and what we're trying to do. So the network itself, I'm pretty proud to say that it's up to 15 communities. The towns that we have listed here are shown. Some are definitely more active in what we're trying to do than others. We meet every couple of months virtually to discuss what we're trying to go. And this slide is currently shows you right now it looks like a bunch of worms, but it's a general network of what is there has been identified for the network. The dark green lines are those roads that are either current rail trails or roads that are in decent shape right now don't really need any changes to be made. And the ones in the light green are there's some changes that would need to be made to make them as safe as possible. So why is this a good idea? Why are we trying to do this? And how does it affect Littleton? Or why are we trying to do this in Littleton? First off, to connect it to Littleton directly, the master plan. We talked a lot about in the master plan about not just about bicycle and pedestrian improvements. It was a common theme when it came to transportation workshops that we had. So the NRG really is very synergistic with the goals listed in the master plan that were identified here. It's consistent with the feedback from the current bicycle pedestrian master plan, and there's some legislation as well that's recently come out that's also related to why NRG is appropriate. Here you see some of the specific goals that are in the master plan that relate to this specific type of thing that we're basically doing with NRG. And the last part, and that bullet there, is improving intermodal transportation connectivity was definitely one of the big 3 for NRG in Littleton. Next slide. So the bicycle pedestrian master plan. That's been a great project that we've done for the last year. I helped advocate for getting that funded using some of the Amazon money when I was in the TAC, and I think it's been a good product. It's something we've been trying to do for many, many years. And we had a really good, you're seeing a sneak peek of the presentation you're going to get next month, but there was very good responses. 700 people responded, and you see some of the key takeaways from this, that many people walk, bike in this community, and they would do more of it if it was safer, more convenient, and if they just felt safer and things were more connected. Again, this goes right into what we're trying to do with NRG. I'll say one difference a little bit NRG versus the Bicycle Pedestrian Master Plan, though, is NRG is really about connecting a region, and the Bike Pedestrian Master Plan really should be more insular focused about what we want to do in Littleton. There's definitely overlap between the two of them, but the best route to get, say, from the high school to Russell Street is going to be a very intra-town issue, where people who are driving through or riding their bikes through the community are going to be wanting to get more to the train station, to Carlson Orchard, to Kimball Farms, that kind of thing. So some other feedback from the Bicycle Pedestrian Master Plan. These came right from the MAPC slides. The top request included, more off-street paths, trails, more connections to key destinations, concerns with speed, and lack of connected routes. I think you're getting a theme here of what we're trying to connect to here, and there's some very good quotes that I think are relevant to what we're doing here too. And so you may not be aware that there was a recent legislation that was passed just at the end of the Baker administration called an Act to Reduce Traffic Fatalities. It's been a work in progress for many, many years. It took effect in April 1st, and it includes, it defines a vulnerable road user, specifies safe passing distance. Those are the terms I want to focus on this evening. But it also has some other parameters in there that allows a town to alter the speed limit to 25 miles an hour without having an undue process. Where before it might be kind of involved to having to do a study. You can work with the DOT, and I think they're going to be more receptive to making those changes. We're in a thickly settled area, so we can reduce the speed limits, and it also has some other administrative elements like crash reporting and some other devices for trucks for municipal and state contracted trucks. But the key pieces I want to talk about in the next slide are the vulnerable road user. So what is a vulnerable road user? People walking, biking, roadside workers, people basically who would lose in a fight with a car. And then safe passing specifies that there needs to be a safe passing distance of 4 feet when passing anybody who's a vulnerable road user. So one of the things we're trying to do with the changes to the road network are going to be making the road more conducive to sharing the road. It's not just about the car, and not shuffling off the pedestrians off into the shoulder, a 1 foot shoulder or something like that. It being the roads are more for all of us. So there's some of the basic requirements that are specified in that law. And it does say that, we're going to talk about double yellow lines, but it does say that, cars are allowed to cross a double yellow line when it's necessary to pass, when it's appropriate to pass. But I still think double yellow lines are not necessarily good when we're talking about sharing the road mentality, because people they're programmed from those driver's ed classes, they want to stay inside that yellow line. So we can get some of these free signs that the DOT is offering up these signs, just so you know. So we just got to put a request in if we want to get some of these to get them on our roads. Next slide. So this is kind of hard to read, but if you wanted to know where we're talking about in Littleton, where NRG, where the route would be, I'll just quickly hit some of the highlights. Starting from Acton, it's Nagog Hill Road. To Acton, it would be the way to get to Acton Center. Neshoba Road to get to Bruce Freeman. Cross over Harwood. Harwood is the main spine through Littleton. If you ever run on Harwood, you always see bikers on it. It's the best north-south route in town because it gets over Route 2 and 495. And it's very popular, and it's a good road, very country, very bucolic. Then a spur off to Foster Street to get to the train station, and then a spur east going towards the Common. And then once you get to the old train station, you have Harvard Road that connects you to Bruce Street, which gets you to Ayer, and then continue on to Harvard Road if you want to get to Harvard. I put some dashes on here. The funny thing about the landline route, or the NRG route, is we work with MAPC. This was all MAPC's idea originally, and we just said, that sounds good, let's do this for Littleton, and started making it real for Littleton. And so they're the ones who run the GIS map. And so if we want to make a change, I got to get around to them to kind of like making the changes to it. So some of the stuff from the bike pedestrian plan is going to get, I think, reflected in our plan for NRG. But right now, so I have some dashed lines about the extension of Foster Street once they do the new multi-use trail from Taylor to the train station. That's an obvious one. Our partners in Boxborough have not been that active, and they haven't identified their route. So somehow that road's going to be the way to get to Acton. I mean, Boxborough for sure, down Taylor Street. So there's things like that it's still kind of work in progress, but we've had a lot of time talking with the BPAC and other bicycle advocates in town. We've met with Steve Yonley about the route, make sure he's okay with it. And this is, I think it's in pretty good shape as to what our route would look like. So what does it mean in terms of the network? Like I said before, we're not talking big infrastructure projects. You know, when we're trying to hierarchy of what we want to do, first off, you'll see this in the bike pedestrian master plan, sidewalks, sidewalks, sidewalks. People want sidewalks. So first I want to add sidewalks where possible. Second would be create those bike pedestrian lanes where possible. Not really a lot of places in our road network that are conducive to that because of the real estate. You need pretty much 30 feet, 5 feet each for bike shoulders, and then 10 feet for minimum lane, maybe 9.5 for road lane. So we're not talking, most of the roads really aren't conducive to that. So most likely what we're going to be the main remedy, and we went through the entire network with Steve and myself and Michael Gurar from BPAC about 2 months ago, was just getting rid of the yellow lines. Getting rid of the white lines. I don't know when it is that we said in Littleton, just with every road that goes, that doesn't, it's not a dead end, has to have these yellow lines, but they're everywhere. And they're really not necessary in a lot of these roads. So we really want to get to where they remove those lines, and it really promotes a shared use mentality. And this is the kind of thing you can do over 5-6 years. Next time you're repaving, next time you're restriping, you just don't put the lines down. That's the kind of thing we're talking about doing. Speed limits is another part of the solution. And then the biggest dollar value cost is going to be wayfinding, because we want to have wayfinding along the route that tells people this is the best way to get to Harvard, this is the best way to get to Littleton Center, et cetera, to get to the train station, so those who are riding through the community. Imagine people taking the train with their bikes on a weekend out to Littleton and doing a nice route through Harvard, through Ayer, Devon's is great, down to Kimball's, and getting back on the train. This is really the type of thing where we could actually promote this and promote through commerce and promote through recreation, because there are a lot of recreation opportunities around here. And I think it's just a matter of getting people to know this is the best route. We're looking for trying to appeal to the biker like me, who's not in great shape. Okay, we're not going to go up Oak Hill Road. Okay, it's going to be those as safe routes and routes that people can go that are just general bikers. So this is the type of signage you would look at. You'd see Mass Trails and Mass DOT put out their wayfinding design guide just last November, and it would look, just to be consistent, to have these kind of signage across the state and for our route from one town to the other. We'd want to all be consistent. So there'd either be something that says Nashoba Regional Greenways or a logo where that blue is, and then green destination signs. So here's an example of what we're talking about. You see Bruce Street on the bottom left, no striping, very nice. And you see Nagog Hill Road with like a 1.5 foot shoulder there, and I think it's about a 10-foot road width. So, it's kind of an example of one Blue Street is like we want to get to. Nagog Hill Road is not what we want to get to. Now, there's one road that I think may warrant a more significant change, and this is Route 2A and 110, or King Street, between Fay Park, or the Historical Society, and the Common. There's a little bit of bike lane right now in the Common around the post office to get into the, it's kind of ridiculous. It's like 100 yards. So I was out there this weekend measuring the road, and this road might be able to accommodate, depends upon where you measure it, but it might be able to accommodate bike lanes on both sides right now. It's right around 30 feet. But if we couldn't, the idea is that on the eastbound lane going from Fay Park towards the Common, you add a bike lane on the right, shift the lanes a little bit over, and then the road, people going west could go down Shattuck Street. Because that's a one-way street, a very quiet road. So you're only talking a very narrow stretch between where Shattuck Street starts and the post office that you'd have to do something where I think the roads are pretty wide, and then you have that narrow stretch between the library and Foster Street, which is actually pretty wide enough. It can handle both bike lanes in both directions. So this might be one area where we actually did something funky or did something a little bit different. This is a state road, we all know that. They do all the work. It's probably a get in a line type of thing unless we want to take up the cost for it. But if you look at the bike pedestrian master plan, this is a key route to get from the common to the town hall towards the train station. So we're going to want to do something here, because this is the key, this is the choke point in terms of the main route to get bicycle pedestrian amenities in town. So this is a double. This is not just NRG, this is a Littleton necessity too. So where we need help from you, why am I here, why am I looking to come to you? It's very informative, I know it's very educational, it's part of the reasons here, that's great. But the other reason I came here is because I want some support. One is to educate you, two, to solicit support from the board. 2 years ago, this board supported an application for a technical assistance grant from MAPC and MRPC. Through that, we were able to generate brochures, flyers, handouts, fact sheets, that kind of thing, so we can all speak in common messaging, which is very helpful. It kind of helped us crystallize what we're trying to do amongst the communities. So now, the next step for us is to pursue like a wayfinding grant. And so I'm going to get to that in the next few slides, but part of this is I want you guys to endorse what we're trying to do here with those town bodies who work with me or work with our group. One is working with the Littleton DPW. When they're going to be restriping or repaving a road, they're going to do it to Hattawan. That's a good road, actually, that's partly potentially on our network. Let's just talk about it before you start putting lines in. Let's just talk about it and allow me to be in the room so that before you do something that we don't put lines in where we think it makes sense, right? So that's part of it. Allowing for this network to be at an equal level or slightly below the equal level for the bicycle pedestrian master plan in town. Third thing is that I still have my to-do list is to get with some of the state legislators. I made contact with Jamie Eldridge's office around the election time period last year. One of our members met him at a function and started talking him up. And so he said, well, give me know more about it. So I haven't gone back and followed up with them, but he talked about getting together like a group of the legislators for this region. And so I know you guys do briefings periodically to them or put fact sheets together. So if there's any information about what we're doing, they might be of interest. This is a perfect thing to me with the legislators because it does approach multiple communities. And I don't know what I'm going to ask for those folks at this point right now, but I think there are some infrastructure things that we could do. We're just a bunch of volunteers. It could be that we could get some help with some of the GIS functions or other types of things where it might be good to see if we can't get some maybe targeted funding to help keep this thing going. So I will let you know if I have any kind of briefings with those guys, but I want to make you aware that if I did that, where this is coming from. And then this network has been relatively only a few parties have been party to it. So I know when people start seeing signs that you put up, you might get questions, right? So what is this NRG thing? So if in terms of getting the word out before we start putting signs up, I wanted to make sure you guys were aware. I'm open to ideas about how best to get the word out, how to do that. I'm honestly not sure how best to do that. But I think you want to eliminate and reduce the amount of questions you get on this, or if you do get questions, you can how to refer to them or how to deal with them. So that's probably something where I need some cover. So next slide. So the grant piece. So I've talked about the wayfinding signage, and that has to do with the only real monetary need is for signs. So so to do that, we're talking about pursuing a grant. We're looking at the Mass Trails grant as an example, but there could be some other sources like the Solomon Foundation or Hub Love or some other private functions. But knowing how the Mass Trails grant works, it's due in February of each year. You need a town to be the advocate for it. We're not looking at Littleton being the advocate for it, looking for maybe another community to do that, but we would need, the other plan is to sign on. You talk about a municipal collaboration agreement if we're talking multiple communities. We need to front, a Mass Trails grant works where you front the money and you get reimbursed. And it's, I think it's 80% you get reimbursed. So, and you're allowed to have in-kind services to pay for your 20%. So imagine where our in-kind services are having DPW put the signs up. Might be a possibility. So, very rough estimate, Michael Gurar, BPAC, put signs on a map and thought it would be about so many signs. I did a rough number, about $20,000 maybe for signage. That's a rough number. So imagine that we got to front that, we get reimbursed about 80% of it, and we're talking about a modest expenditure to help put these signages up. So that's what we're talking about, I think, as terms of support. So really, so the last slide is just other sources of grants that are out there that also could be tackled or touched. So really what I'm looking for is feedback on this approach, feedback on what we're trying to do, and support in my collaboration and working with the respective boards and offices in doing the details, and then eventually getting the word out and going from there. Oh, thank you.
Right, thank you. I'll open up to questions. Any?
So I'll start. I've been at a lot of the BPAC master, and I think this is all great. One question I had on the King Street, is it actually going all the way, is Westford part of the membership? And would 110 go all the way through to Kimball's? And, I mean, because 225 is a big biking route too, so
Yeah.
I would think you want a connection there.
So Westford is not part of the route, not part of our group. I've reached out once or twice to someone. I get an email occasionally from a Westford person, and I reached out, but I haven't connected with them. But in terms of our master plan to expand, Westford is one of them, Groton is one of them, which is obviously directly related to us, because obviously those, I think, we're trying to get to those towns that are similar in their geography and type like us, and I think Westford and Groton fall into that category.
And I've been, well, I missed the last one, but Senator Eldridge has his Green Advisory Community meetups, and this has come up. The NRG has been well represented there.
Oh, it has. Okay, great to hear.
With people from AIR.
Okay.
I know. So I think this is all great. Two other questions. When they are redoing the Bruce Street light, is this on the MassDOT radar to put up the proper signage and width and everything that you're asking for?
I don't think I don't know definitively. I've not looked at the plans for that intersection, but that intersection is mostly, I think, dealing with 2A and less so much on Bruce Street.
But it's on your.
No, I get that, but I don't think they need to do much different. I mean, it's going to be better, because this is an anecdote that one of my friends who rides through this area, that the light would not activate for a bicyclist trying to cross.
That's true of
Bruce
most
Street.
lights.
Right? And so the guy actually came out from the DOT and adjusted the sensor so that it happened. But now I think I think that's one of the improvements that will be made, because I think you're going to have a crosswalk there, and so you can always hit the button and stuff like that. So I do believe that anything will be better.
Yeah. Would the $20,000 request be eligible for CPC funds
That's what I
since
was
it's
thinking.
recreational?
Yeah.
Possibly.
So.
Any part of this, actually, I was thinking just.
So
Mass trails.
I've been involved, I've been going to not really involved, but I've been attending the meetings, and I'd be willing to help on whatever way I can with you on this, Gary. So.
Great.
And thank you for all you've been doing so far on it, so.
Thanks.
I'm also in favor. I'm not sure there's anything we can do right now, but I do wish you will come back to us when there's a road that's going to be paved, or there's some other action we can take to support you.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of me just getting on, getting occasionally with Steve and he talks to us at the TAC meetings about what's going on. So we do have and I'm still a member of the TAC. So I think we have an opportunity to influence that. And as long as you guys are supportive of what we're trying to do here, yeah.
Yeah, I'm supportive.
Yeah. Actually, one other thing, at the bicycle master plan, they talked about striping the roads differently with the white stripes.
Advisory shoulders.
Are we thinking of doing that or not doing that? Or I'd like to see just a more general discussion on that before we go forward with it. I'm not opposed to it. I think it's just going to confuse people.
Yes. Lincoln is doing advisory shoulders presently. They got money they did theirs in conjunction with Federal Highway. I actually never been to that road to see how it works, but basically imagine that there's no center line whatsoever, and there's dash lines that are about 6 feet off the road. I wish I had a picture. And so you're driving, you probably don't know, you can drive over the dash lines and stuff like that, but this idea is that, if there's no other cars coming, you're just driving in the middle. Or when people are passing, you drive in the middle. So I do think the network, these roads here that we're talking about in NRG, I disagree with David Lausenheiser from MAPC. He thinks Harwood Street would be a good road. I don't agree. But I do think a road like Hartwell could be a good road. which people walk all the time on. It's not heavily trafficked. It's only locals on that road, and I fear for anybody walking on that road.
I was wondering more like Foster Street, where there's not the width for the, to put a bike lane in or something, if something like that would be a good solution there,
Foster might be another one too. Yeah.
so.
So I think it's more of an issue. With
I think, I'm not opposed to the idea. I think we just need to make a real conscious decision before we do that. And actually talk about it, in more of a public session.
Yeah,
And get people on
Lincoln
board.
had a lot of communication outreach on that.
Yeah,
So I'd agree. It's a mind shift.
yeah.
No questions.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wrote down the 4 feet to pass. I mean, that's news to me, just to hear it. I mean, it's something that those signs should go out, because the average person that's driving, they get a little upset with bikers or not, and I don't think anyone realizes that they, and I don't even know if it's something that we have to put into our policies. That was the other side of this, where we can help this with town policy on.
I think it's state law now.
Is it
It's been
state law?
changed,
So
yeah,
4 foot is a state law?
Right,
Okay,
right,
that's good.
that just came on,
That was
so,
as of like a month
that's,
ago or so.
right,
I think.
Okay, so anything like policy side, Littleton roads, and how we can affect or help, I think we'll have to start thinking about.
Yeah, I think it would be fair to even for the roads that aren't in our network. I think it's a free question to ask about what is the striping plan. What's the plan for the striping plan on any of the roads that we're going to be redoing?
Yeah.
Just ask the question.
Yeah.
Is it really necessary?
Okay. Yeah, that would be a public safety and Steve, obviously. Yeah, we're talking bikes, but the uptick in electric bikes, I mean, that's the other thing that it's all coming. People that I think it's opened up a whole group of people that don't want to sit there and pedal constantly. So this is going to increase. Our bike traffic is going to increase significantly over the next several years. There's no doubt.
Yeah, and I'd rather stay ahead of it and look at this as an opportunity and bring some of that. I think there's some commerce element to here to bring people into this community too.
The good news is we've got the speed limit already done, the 25 mile an hour, it's townwide pretty much, so.
Yeah.
But, no, thank you, and just keep us, if you hit roadblocks that we can help with, please come back to us, and we'll
Okay.
do what we can.
There's a one-page fact sheet on the vulnerable road users law in the packet I provided before.
Thank you.
So you have that. Okay, and if anybody wants to talk to me after the meeting, I'm in the back if you want. I get more stuff for you.
And
Thanks,
Ryan,
Gary.
the presentation will be posted on the, can we post that on the website?
we can't, I mean, it's already in the packet, so, I believe, so.
No,
But we can put the presentation on, because that's as well, sure, we could do that.
Let me send you, I did some,
Okay.
Actually-
You can send it to me, just send me.
it's too big.
Too big, oh, okay. All right, okay, all right.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I don't think it made it into the packet.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's not in the packet.
Okay, all right. We can take care of it.
All right, next on our agenda, before we get to our public hearing, is the vote to increase the Personnel Advisory Committee. I don't think that'll take long. I think we've discussed this.
I think we're okay.
You've been
It's
part of
just-
those, right? Yeah.
Bill Schmidt is here, if I
Yeah.
could ask Bill, if you
Yeah,
want to come
please.
up. This was a request from Bill as a member of PAC to increase membership from 3 to 5. One of the specific issues is that in a 3-person board, you have one conversation with someone and you've got a quorum. So, Bill,
Yeah,
this is
thank
your
you.
request.
Bill Schmidt, Personnel Action Committee. We really need to expand the committee to more than 3. We have to be able to discuss positions and other personnel matters without creating a quorum. It's as simple as that we just need to expand so that we can have interaction between the members and discuss the things that have to be discussed before we have an actual meeting.
Okay. The only question I have, Bill, is there a recommendation on what those 2 members are? Are they members of committees that exist in town, or is it public at large? Have we
Employees.
employees?
Yeah.
I mean, that,
Neither one of them are employees, and
Okay.
both of them are at large, to
okay,
my knowledge.
thank you.
No questions.
Yeah, we've been briefed on this quite a bit, so this
Yep.
is
Okay, good. Thank you.
planning. All right, look for motion.
Move the select board increase the number of members on the Personnel Advisory Committee from 3 to 5.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous. Next, we have a public hearing. 4 Jacks. Hello. we have to open?
Do we have to read the hearing notice?
Yes, we have to
Yeah,
read
you have it,
them.
you have the notice? We're going to open our public hearing really quick. I'll get you.
I have to read that? There is no way I can read that.
You want me to read it for you?
Yeah, that's way too small.
Okay. All right, so this is the notice of the legal notice for the public hearing for license amendment for all alcohol restaurant license, common particular entertainment license for Jaxi, located at 806 Constitution Avenue, Littleton, Massachusetts. Littleton Select Board will conduct a public hearing on Monday, originally April 24th. It is today, May 22nd, at 7 p.m. in the Reuben Hoare Library, Sturt's Room, 35 Shattuck Street, Littleton, Massachusetts, to act on a request to amend the licenses for the all-alcohol restaurant license, the common particular license, and the annual entertainment license, as requested by owner-manager Michael Herrick for MGH-FEC, Limited Liability Corporation, doing business as for Jaxi at the premise located at 806 Constitution Ave, Littleton, Massachusetts. Entertainment and floor plan layout modifications include increasing the seating capacity and maximum occupancy from 66 to 95, increasing the number of axe throwing cages from 2 to 6, reducing the number of golf simulators from 4 to 2, reducing the number of dart throwing areas from 3 to 2 with electronic dartboards, reducing the number of pool tables from 4 to 0, adding music via jukebox amplification system, and live music expanded hours and days of operation include Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 1 a.m. Expanded hours days on premise alcohol sales include Monday through Saturday from 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. Sunday from 10 a.m. to 1 a.m. Fort Jaxi will continue to offer indoor seating only and limited food services. A copy of the application may be seen at the Select Board/Town Administrator's Office, Room 306 at 37 Shattuck Street, Littleton, Massachusetts. Comments thereon may be submitted in writing to selectboard@littletonma.org or to the Select Board/Town Administrator's Office, 37 Shattuck Street, Littleton, Mass. By noon on Wednesday, April 19th, or in person at the hearing. Littleton Select Board, Matthew Nordhaus, Chair. So just to remind everybody, when this original notice went out, Matthew Nordhaus was in fact Chair. So it's been a couple times that we put this off per the request of for Jaxi. So this is sort of return back to that per the request. Now we're finally having the opportunity to actually bring this forward. So there, just a note to the chair: we have not received any that I'm aware of any public comment on this license change.
Okay. And the one thing I don't think I saw in the packet, maybe I missed it. Police, fire, everything.
Yeah, they all
were
sign
all in
off,
there.
yeah.
Okay.
And the building commissioner.
Okay, and I did see that the landlord as well.
Yes.
Recently.
Good,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
So please go. Please, if you have a
Certainly,
presentation.
Scott Erickson from Perkins and Ansel on behalf of the applicant here tonight. I have with me Mr. Herrick. I wanted to make sure that the board, we did email it in this morning, but obviously we had hoped to get it to you last week. I do have paper copies of the landlord's letter of support I can drop off.
Yes.
Thank you.
And the board's received it. So
Yep.
Confirmation
Thank you.
of notices as
Yep.
well. that
Okay.
was-
Thank you. Okay.
Great.
So just very briefly, and we appreciate your patience with us here, part of the delay was just working with the landlord to make sure that they were comfortable with these changes. Obviously, we wanted to have their support before coming in here tonight so that there would be no issue there. We're happy to report that obviously they are happy with this now. Their main concern, frankly, was just DEP, right? Making sure that there was no change in flow. There's no change in flow. The operations are more or less the same from that perspective. While we're looking to increase the maximum occupancy, we don't anticipate that we're going to be anywhere near the 95 at any given, at most operation times. Mr. Herrick has had, I think, as high as 80 occupants.
It ended up being like 62.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. So, we're much closer to that 60 range. But obviously would like to have the flexibility to go higher. The other changes to the floor plan are as stated, so we're reducing the number of golf simulators, increasing the number of axe throwing lanes, eliminating the pool tables, reducing the number of dart throwing facilities, But overall, the entertainment aspect is the same. The music update, frankly, is just to also allow some flexibility. A jukebox is one thing, but when we're applying for the change with the ABCC, we need to make sure we cover all our bases. So the provision for the live music, although not anticipated to be a major issue, is something we wanted to check off so we don't have to come back before the ABCC. And then the hour expansion is something that we had actually talked about with the board back in last summer when we were here before you. Wanted to figure out what the hours would look like. And again, this is a flexibility measure. So certainly any questions that you folks have, we're happy to address.
Sure. Let's go around.
I'm just surprised that 1 a.m. on Sunday's even in play. Does that actually happen? Like, because at Tavern in the Square, it's also open until 1 a.m. on Sunday, apparently?
Yeah, I don't think anyone's in here past 9.
Yeah,
so-
okay, that's what I thought, all right. So you're not necessarily going to be open at 1 a.m., you just
No,
want to be
I don't
able
think
to?
ever.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
I don't think I have any other questions.
I'm questioning the 8 a.m. liquor sales on 6 days of the week. That seems awfully early to me. So,
Is this more for function, you're thinking functions at that
Correct.
time?
Our hours start at 10 right now, so.
Right. And it would be more for like a private event type situation or something like that if there is an event.
So you anticipate opening your doors at 8 a.m. generally to the public?
In the wintertime for golf, perhaps, but
Okay.
as of now.
Yeah, it's true, the golf simulation side. but-
I don't have a
yeah,
problem with the opening of the hours. It's the alcohol
The
at
service.
8 a.m. I have no problem opening the doors at 8 a.m. and saying you can start serving at 10 a.m. I mean, there's no one else that serves that early there. It seems outrageously early to be starting to serve, and it doesn't match what the other licenses are in that area.
Has anyone else ever asked?
I have no idea. No one's asked in the time that I've been on the board.
Did you look at any other licenses?
Well, there's the other licenses on the premise at the point, and there's only one that's at 9 a.m.
Oh, I thought that was just opening hours. I didn't know that was alcohol hours.
That's alcohol
Okay.
licenses, and O'Neill starts at 9.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Everyone else is 10 or 11.
Selbrd starts at 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
9 o'clock.
I guess,
I mean, certainly, I think if 9 o'clock is more consistent with what's up there, that we could modify that accordingly.
I'd rather it be more consistent with the others myself,
Yeah.
so.
I don't have
You can
that
open at
forever.
8, it's fine, but serving at 9.
Service at 9.
Or, yeah, serving later would be my preference.
okay. I mean, if that's something that, I mean, the discussion, we haven't had the discussion
Sure.
here yet, so if you want it, if it's something that.
I mean, if.
I'm comfortable with the 8, and it's more so, just the question I asked directly, you're not opening up 8 a.m. and the people flooding in at their bars. It's more of a company function wants to have an outing and they go there. That's where they meet in the morning for a Friday where they're gonna have a function. That's the only thing I was thinking that, if they started at 8, then you'd wanna have it at 8, but yeah, I mean, that's, you guys, how do you feel?
I don't have any objection to 8 particularly.
No.
I don't feel strongly about it.
I mean, I think if, the Emerson night shift wants to come in
Yeah.
and have a function at 8 a.m. before they turn in,
Yeah.
that's, like I said, I don't have heartburn over that.
Brian, do we take public input at this time? We can.
Oh, yes.
Please, just stand and let us know who you are.
Does he have to come up to the mic?
Yeah, you might
Yes.
want to come up just so we can have
Identify
a,
themselves.
Use the mic.
keep this, since it is a public hearing.
Sorry.
Is this through me to the gentleman, or is this in general?
I don't know who the question is to.
Okay.
Somebody can answer it, I'm
Okay.
hoping. Rob Houston, 55 Jennifer Street. What is the liquor hours of Tavern in the Square?
I think it's 10. They're all on here. We
Yeah,
I don't
Tavern is
know. I'm
11.
sorry.
11 a.m.
10 a.m. on Sunday.
Right, I mean, we because as part of our memo with that, I think we did provide that. Tavern in the Square, their hours Monday through Saturday are 11 to 1 a.m., and on Sunday, 10 a.m. to 1 a.m.
So I'm not a big fan of the hours of the liquor sales, just so you know. To the extent my voice matters, selling alcohol at an axe throwing facility at 8 a.m. on any day of the week strikes me as not a good idea. And I don't know how many other establishments are open till 1 a.m. either. Anyway, so I understand flexibility, but flexibility on a Sunday night till 1 a.m. strikes me as kind of crazy in a town like Littleton. So I would go more in line with Tavern in the, the other facilities that are there, that are already there now. Why should this one be open earlier or later?
Tavern in the Square is open till 1 a.m.
I got it.
Okay,
But are they open till 1 a.m. on Sundays?
yeah.
Yes.
They have the right to be.
Yes.
Now, I'll be honest with you, going up there, most places on any given day, unless there's an event, are closing around 10 p.m. pretty much, unless there's something really going on.
I would prefer that the event situation be one-offs, right? We have that situation now where people come in and ask for exceptions from the select board on one-off basis. If they're taking people to come in for a private event and they're selling alcohol to those people at a private event at 8 a.m., that's no different to me than the public. We're now putting liquor in people's stomachs at 8 a.m., 9 a.m. in the morning and putting them out on the streets of Littleton.
I mean, what's the difference between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m.?
I don't like 10 a.m. either, right?
all right.
But that's not,
No,
that's not what I'm here for. I'm not asking that they be treated any differently than Tavern in the Square either.
All right.
Right? So that's it.
All right, thanks.
That's all I got.
Great, voices heard. Any, outside the hours, I guess,
Yeah.
discussion, what else were your concerns? I know this was kind of, I bet if we logged the amount of hours I think that Ms. Dickerson put into this was quite a bit. So I know there was a lot of back and forth and things were done backwards a little bit, I guess, on some of this. So I guess lessons learned.
Lessons learned.
So my other question is just on the capacity. You're going from 66 to 95, so that's a 50% jump almost in capacity. And you are accommodating those people because you're removing the pool tables. How did you get that extra space? It seems like a lot of extra.
So I think what happened
Capacity.
was, frankly, we understated capacity coming in the first time.
It's rated for 90.
Right.
95, right? Is that what the?
So that's largely it. Eliminating the pool tables obviously does open up some space, but some of that was taken by the axe throwing lane, so that really wasn't it. It was just that when we came in initially, we had understated the capacity.
Okay.
I have no more, yeah, I have no comment.
It's completely indoors.
Correct. Completely indoors.
Yeah, my concern was more about noise via live music, but
No, there's no patio space, there's no,
There'd still be an entertainment
Right.
place
Yeah.
required, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything really to add. I'm glad we're here. I'm glad you came today, because I know we kept pushing this
Yes.
off. And I think it's important that we addressed it, because I know you guys have been open for a little bit now. And is ABCC, they've been up there
So
since
the-
opening?
Well, so what will happen is then this will then go to the ABCC
Okay.
upon the board's approval, and then
Okay.
be reviewed on their end.
Okay,
So,
then-
I mean, like last time when it went in, I think there was some questions about alcohol and axe throwing. This will be putting in some more lanes, so this will be a little bit of a change. So I'm sure they'll be following up on all that.
Okay, so there, excuse me, first time kind of dealing with the license with axes and alcohol, but if something comes back from ABCC, does that change something that we have to act on? Are we now?
It could, depending on what they have to say, if there's anything that they would want to amend or what have you. But this basically gives you a stamp of approval to go to the ABCC for consideration.
Okay, thank you.
So I will reiterate, I would prefer later hours for serving alcohol. And if you had an event that they wanted to start at 8 a.m., they can come for a one-day license like the other people do for one-day licenses for something earlier.
so you're proposing that it aligns with O'Neill and Salou to 9 a.m.?
I prefer that to 8, yes. I'd prefer later than that, but since there's already a precedence for 9, I'll stick with 9. But
Okay. I mean, if that's the will of the board, if that's amenable.
We'd be amenable to the 9 o'clock. That's consistent with the other uses.
Yeah.
So it's 9 Monday through Saturday, 10 on Sunday.
Yes.
That doesn't change. Okay, I'll look for a motion then.
Do we have to close the hearing, or?
Yep.
I think so, yeah. If there's no one else who wants to speak.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay,
So move to close the public hearing?
Second?
it's been moved and seconded. We'll do a roll call vote, Karen, to close the public hearing.
To close,
Sorry.
aye.
Matthew?
Yes.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, so the public hearing is closed. Now we can get on to the motion of the licensing, please.
So we're agreeing to change it to 9 AM?
As discussed and, yeah, as amended.
Okay. Move the select board vote to approve the application of manager Michael Herrick for an alteration of premises, all alcohol on premises restaurant license under Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 12, for the sale of all alcoholic beverages from MGH FEC LLC, doing business as 4 Jacksie, 806 Constitution Ave, for the hours of Monday through Saturday, 9 AM to 1 AM, and Sunday, 10 AM to 1 AM. Issuance of said license is subject to the ABCC approval of alteration of premises.
Okay.
Wait, I think there's 2 more, so.
Yeah, but you can,
We're
right.
just doing this one, or we do all 3?
What's at the preference of the chair, right?
How's the next one read? Can we, let's keep doing the
Keep
ands,
going, yeah.
please. Unless somebody objects to one of these, I think.
Yep.
And move that the select board vote to approve the application of manager Michael Herrick for an annual amusement and entertainment license pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 140, Section 183A for MGH FEC LLC, doing business as 4 Jacksie, 806 Constitution Ave, to include 2 golf simulators, 2 dart throwing cages, and 6 axe throwing cages, and an amplification system, and the potential for live music for the hours of Monday through Friday. You will still want the same business hours?
Yes, please.
8 AM to 1 AM.
It'd be
and
9 AM.
8, no, this is.
This
when
is
they're-
business hours, not alcohol hours.
Thank you. Okay, correct.
8 AM to 1 AM, and Sunday, 10 AM to 1 AM, with indoor seating and maximum of 95 patrons. Issuance of said license is subject to alteration of the premises approval from ABCC. And move that the select board vote to approve the application of manager Michael Herrick for a revised common victular license under Mass General Law, Chapter 140, Section 6, for the restaurant premises for MGH FEC LLC, doing business as 4 Jacksie, 806 Constitution Ave, for the hours of Monday through Saturday, 8 AM to 1 AM, and Sunday, 10 AM to 1 AM, with indoor seating and a maximum of 95 patrons.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? No? Okay, it's
Thank you very
unanimous.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
for us. Thank you.
Can we write
Thank you.
short
Thank you for
motions?
your business up there, too.
No. This is, you're earning your money tonight.
That was a tough read. Good job. All right, that's the public hearing. We're going to move on to public input. Do we have any public input tonight? No? Wow. All right. Member input. Mark, I'll start with you on this side.
I really have very little. I was going to say congratulations to everyone that graduates before our next meeting.
All right. Oh, my goodness. Go ahead. What were you doing?
So I wanted to talk about office hours. I think we had a discussion about it, and everyone's in favor of participating. I believe that we had settled on Friday afternoons from 1 to 3. And so the only thing left is to have a sign-up sheet, which I was going to create and share with all of y'all. So we can start doing that.
That's great.
So I just want to let the public know that we're going to do regular office hours. We'll announce it on LCTV.
So some select board member will be
Some select board member,
Fridays
yes.
from 1 to 3.
Yes.
Matthew,
We'll have to reserve.
if it's okay, if we could have that organized through our office so that you guys aren't running around, we could do administratively, just set up the sign-up sheet.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah. The other one is you forwarded us a video from Accountability for All First Amendment auditors who visited Littleton. And they basically go into the town offices and other public places with cameras and make sure that their First Amendment rights aren't being violated. And I think they're a little bit trollish. Nevertheless, The Littleton Town Hall staff could not have been shown in a better light. Everyone was incredibly friendly, polite, warm, and the person who was recording the video was impressed with their professionalism. So even though the thumbnail on the YouTube video is incredibly clickbaity, it's actually a really positive and nice video, and I just want to congratulate and thank the town employees for doing a great job of handling that. That was really nice.
Yeah, they did a great
Yeah.
job. Yeah.
Great.
I wanted to congratulate the Littleton High School Press Club on their well-deserved recognition in Lowell Sun a few days ago. Well done, and also wanted to make note that the high school theater production Chicago recently won a Tammy Award for Best Production Number for Chicago and All That Jazz. And Mia Clements, part of the production, won a bronze for Best Performance in a lead role. So congratulations to everyone involved there.
Great, all right. Looks like I'm next. So, third Thursday, I did make it by this last week. As most years, the first one was not a huge event, but we had 6 or 7 tents out there, businesses, and good turnout while I was there. People were kind of starting to roll, and I got there right at 5. So please put that on your calendars. Look for it on Facebook and on our website for the upcoming events throughout the summer on third Thursdays. Memorial Day Parade is coming up. Just a reminder that'll be kicking off around 9 a.m., 9:30, I believe, for if you're coming to watch. And then the veterans afterwards, Veterans and Families Barbecue at the VFW, if you'd like. I was going to mention office hours. Thank you, Matthew, for putting that together. And I see it's caught on for a little bit of our planning board. I saw Ms. Houston has office hours coming up as well.
Nice.
I think it's a great idea. And accountability for all. I thought that was in Ryan, you were waiting for them as they came out of the elevator. So.
I wish I was waiting for them. I had my hand was full with food, so I was. That's.
Yeah. The last item I'm going to bring up is a little bit more serious. So it came up during town meetings. We did a little bit of research. So I want to thank Ryan and his staff for putting together some of the questions that came up during town meeting regarding Mr. Ansaldi's the employment settlement agreement. That was asked, I think, during town meeting, for those of you that might have watched or attended. So the Select Board entered into a settlement agreement with Town Administrator Anthony Ansaldi on March 27th, 2023. Per Mr. Ansaldi's employment contract, Mr. Ansaldi was paid out approximately 8 months from March 24th through the duration of his contract term on November 30th, 2023, of salary, deferred compensation, and unpaid vacation. Per the terms of Mr. Ansaldi's employment contract and executed settlement agreement, Mr. Ansaldi is additionally scheduled to be paid on the first payroll period of July 1st, 2023, a lump sum payment equivalent to 6 months of regular compensation. This is because we're crossing over 2 fiscal years for this compensation. A few things I wanted to mention, but the budget side of this. So past and scheduled payments to Mr. Ansaldi will be made from the town administrator wages budget. That was one question that came up. And I apologize, when these questions come up on town meeting floor, it's very difficult for us to look through the book and say, where's all of these budget items coming from? So we appreciate your patience, and I wish we had a different forum, which we do, our meetings, to be able to handle these type of questions. Town meeting floor, we don't always have the quick answer, especially when we have things like this that cross over fiscal years. Any deficit incurred within the town administrator wages budget at the end of the fiscal year, this year being 2023, on June 30th, or fiscal year 2024, associated with the settlement agreement will be covered by the fiscal year end surpluses in the other town expenses or wages line items with the approval of the Finance Committee and Select Board. So these are funds that are set up for this purpose. when we have members, where we have settlements and things like that, that's where we initially take that money from. In this particular case, it went beyond that amount of money. On any given year, it's kind of hard to predict on any given year. If there are insufficient surpluses in other areas within either the fiscal year 23 or 24 budget, a request will be made to cover the deficit via a transfer from the Finance Committee Reserve Fund, which requires the approval of the Finance Committee. So that's kind of why it wasn't an easy answer to say where this settlement money would come from. Particulars of that settlement, deferred compensation, including insurance payments, which the board also agreed to cover Mr. Ansaldi through the end of his contract, totaled a complete total of $232,371.08. So that's all I have for you. So if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me. And any specifics on where exactly this money is in the book or in our annual town book, I can speak back to this. But please reach out with questions regarding that contract or any contract that gets a separation agreement that we are contractually have to abide by. That was a long-winded answer, but I thought it was important because it was an important question brought up at town meeting that we didn't have the accurate information on hand. It's just not that simple, but there it is. So any other input from the board? All right. I think we are on to appointments. So we have economic development, finally.
Correct.
An economic development committee appointment.
Right. I would say, is Tatiana here? Yes. I believe we had had this at an earlier meeting, and then I think the EDC just wanted to have the opportunity to meet. Tatiana, come on up. And had the chance to do that, and recommendation would be to appoint Tatiana this evening. So, Tatiana, if you could introduce yourself to the board and why you want to be on the EDC.
Hello, my name is Tatiana Scott. I'm the owner of 165 New Estate. It's nice to meet you all.
How are you? Well, that was easy. So, questions, I guess, from the board. Just kind of, I mean, I have one. Your interest in it. What really was your interest to be on the committee?
Certainly, because over the years, I've definitely worked with artists in the past, and currently I work as a senior IT administrator for the last 7 years, give or take, of my career. So I definitely want to help out, small businesses. So like the trades, I'm also in the process of remodeling my home because it makes no sense in how it was designed. So, I'm all for the trades, and I definitely want to help out small businesses because that is truly like the lifeline of especially like small communities like ours. And I originally am coming from Boston, Massachusetts. I'm originally from the Back Bay, South End area. Okay. So I definitely want to be able to, keep that quaint small town feel, after exiting Boston. I definitely want to be able to help out the small local guy and help out.
Well, welcome, and thank you for stepping up. Any questions?
We've had the pleasure of meeting before. And
Indeed.
Yeah,
How are you?
It's good to see you, and I'm excited that you're contributing your time and talent, so thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you for your time. It's, when people get involved, it's great, and we need more people to get involved. So I appreciate you stepping up.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've met Tatiana at a couple other events, and it's great that you're stepping up for one committee, and I look forward to see you on many more.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, I will look for a motion.
Move the select board vote to appoint Tatiana Scott as a member of the Economic Development Committee for a term with no expiration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic. No expirations. We have you for life.
Okay. I don't plan on moving.
All right.
So that was the renovations.
Yeah.
Not after you make your renovations.
Exactly. 3-bed, 2-bath next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I actually hope that now that the Economic Development Committee is full staff, that they will come back and put expirations on people, because terms with no expiration are just unattractive to most people.
Yeah, that's true.
you want to be elected to the select board for life?
For life.
That's a no, but thank you. All right, let's move on. Renewal of the Director of Veteran Services, John Borowski. I don't believe he's here tonight. So this is a renewal through June 2026. We enter into these are always 3-year contracts. I don't know if that's by policy.
It's
or-
the formal appointment to give him the title of Director of Veteran Services. So John's continuing on his part-time work for the town, does a great job.
Okay.
And it's just is a continuation of what he's currently doing.
All right, it's going to have a busy weekend, so.
Is there any change to what he's doing or the terms? I mean, there was nothing in the packet.
No,
So-
it's just an extension.
Okay.
Yeah, everything stays.
Is there something we have to sign with respect to this? or
No,
is
just
it
the reappointment, just the
Okay.
motion.
All right, we'll look for a motion.
Move that the board vote to appoint John Borowski as Director of Veteran Services for a term expiring June 30th, 2026.
Second.
So moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Congratulations, John. We have you for another few years. All right. Licensing. We have Spacious Skies, Minuteman LLC Campground Entertainment License. Nice to see this business popping up on our agenda. How are you?
Happy to be here, yes. My name is Cameron. I'm the regional area manager for our campgrounds here, the one campground here in Massachusetts, and also we have a couple up in New Hampshire as well.
Okay.
So I oversee the 3 parks. So happy to answer any questions, and obviously most of the details are spelled out, I believe, in that request there. But
Yeah, just to, really just instead of me speaking to it,
Sure.
it's really just to get
Yeah.
it out there to the public so they know what you're doing and what you're
so,
trying to do.
essentially, I know the Minuteman Campground's been around for a while in the community, and it's come under new ownership and management the last couple of years. And so we have a husband-wife founders based out of New Jersey that kind of put this team together, a small team, honestly, and we're kind of keeping that family-friendly, authentic camping alive. And it's a great industry in the hospitality, and especially when you think of here specifically at Minuteman, the type of folks that come through the campground, it's incredible. Even today I came down for the day, and Germany, France, Quebec, like people from all over the world come to Minuteman Campground because they want to go see Boston, or they want to hop on the train and go this way or that way. Being a New Englander, and Tatiana mentioned Boston, like I can think of other places I'd rather go, but it's obviously a draw for us at the campground, and we're happy to be a part of the community. But obviously when it comes to the entertainment license, we're essentially looking at, our amenities that we have, which kind of falls under the arcade, the rec hall. We have, I'm thinking entertainment-wise.
Air hockey, ping pong, it says something.
Yeah, air hockey, pool table, a couple arcade-type video games, little crane toy grabbing games. We will offer some family movie nights once we hit our peak season in a few weeks. But otherwise, no dancing, no. It's for our paying customers only. It's not a public event or for admission purposes. And obviously, the premises having the heated pool, playground. We have a gem mining station, a little sluice set up, bocce, volleyball, basketball, and I think most importantly we have quiet hours, and those are enforced. Yep. So important for the neighbors and for everybody, and our on-site management as well. They like to sleep too. So yeah, I think, and then just thinking the family-friendly detail, and 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. really is kind of the time frame for where those activities kind of obviously with dusk being a little bit later this time of year, but once we get darkness, then things are shutting down.
Yep.
So.
Okay. Any questions?
This is essentially, excuse me, just transferring what is already there into the new management. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Very good.
6 p.m. is late enough for you? It seems like you wouldn't want something later.
Well, I definitely agree with you. I just know that what our team sent in said 9 to 6, which I don't, but typically our quiet hours are 10 o'clock, but we wouldn't keep our rec hall open that late anyways, but,
That's an easier one to change if that's something that does change. Please have them come in and.
Okay, yeah, I'm just kind of going based off of what our notes were submitted by our team, so.
It, just interesting looking through the things to see no nudity. So that's right on there.
Yeah.
I think they were answering the bullets or the.
There's got to be on the questionnaire.
I guess, you know.
Okay. Yeah, I have no questions.
Bathing suits are required in the pool, you know.
Okay, all right. Nothing further? All right.
Move the select board vote to approve the entertainment license for Spacious Skies Minuteman LLC located at 264 Air Road, Littleton, Mass.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
All right. Moving right along, we're on to select board discussions now.
Okay.
So this is the MSP or MSBA feasibility for Shaker.
Yeah, right, this is the feasibility study agreement, so we are working, as some of you may recollect, I think the annual town meeting allocated $700,000 for the feasibility study agreement. The town has been accepted into this phase by MSBA. We'll be working with the funding we've been provided with the MSBA to, I think, the presentation, we have paperwork to fill out that we then will be submitting. And this is just, and that would be, I think we're shooting for the September meeting. And what this basically does is just gives me permission to sign off on the proposal so that we can move forward and hire an OPM for this project. So, so we just request the board's approval of this so that we can, again, sign off and meet the requirements the MSBA is requesting on this and put in our
Who do
paperwork.
we have on this committee? We have somebody on this committee, correct?
I thought Chuck was.
It was Chuck.
It's Chuck, yes.
Have we decided on an OPM yet, or?
So the way the process works is that we go through, we will be going through a bid process with the, in partnership with the MSBA to come up with that OPM.
Okay.
So it's all.
It's part of the process.
It's all part of the process,
Okay.
correct. Mhm.
I have no other questions.
My question is, does this lock us in on current, what happens with 550 King Street, 410 with the development and their potential new school kids? Are we locked into a building size now, or when does that happen?
That's all part of this process in terms of, what the space needs. It's all part of those considerations in the design.
Okay.
Okay.
In terms of the feasibility study, taking into account 550 King Street?
Well, the size of the school and all of the.
I spoke to
population.
Justin about that, and he said that it does not take new development. Like, if it's not open and working, it won't be included as part of their projections.
Yeah.
We did, however, as part of the earlier stages, make MSBA aware of that. So this is all part of a continued dialogue that we're going to be
I mean,
having.
there's obviously building it for growth regardless, right? I mean,
Yeah, my understanding from other conversations is that the way they define growth is fairly narrowly interpreted, and it doesn't include anything that isn't built.
Yeah, well, we have at least 3 potential projects that are with the growth in town, and it'd be a shame to be designing a school that is already too small. So.
Yes.
So I don't know how we can incorporate that into the study as it's going forward.
just keep reminding.
Yeah,
Keep the conversation going, yeah.
I think you're both right. I mean, it's part of the process and part of us pushing it through, so, yeah.
It'll definitely, 550 will definitely be coming online before the school. Maybe not, we'll see. Anything else on this one? This was took up a bit of the packet, so I read through it, everything looks good.
I think technically the board had given me permission to sign off on these, but where this was the next phase, I thought it'd be prudent to bring it back to you.
No, it's good to see it in the packet, because it was a lot of reading.
And so you know where it's going, too.
It's a big deal. So, Ms.
Anna
Houston?
Yes, I just wanted to ask for clarification. So are you saying that 550 King Street will or will not be part of the Shaker Lane?
The study, the feasibility piece?
Sorry.
I guess as long as we have representation on that board, it will be. We're go, you know, the timelines are just going to line up so close to each other. We have some predictability there that but we don't. I don't know what they're obviously have a like Karen had mentioned a narrow scope of what this looks like for growth. But I don't know what that is.
I would
how
agree.
far out are they reaching? Are they reaching out 10, 15, 20 years?
I think Karen's right. They have a narrow set of sense of what, what's allowable, what isn't. So what we're going to be doing is trying to bring forth as much information as we have in terms of, what the development's going to look like and to push for it's all that information is there. Ultimately, MSBA doesn't want to commit to things beyond what they feel like they need to, and part of that means that what we need to do is to continue to advocate and make sure that information's there so that the town isn't shortchanged in any way, or to Mark's point, underbuilding something where we know that there's going to be other pieces.
So there's a bit of disconnect between what MSBA says and the Commuter Rail Act, whatever.
Yeah,
this
right.
is true.
That says we have to build 750 units.
Right.
So if we have to build those units, it would really be lousy for them to tell us we don't need to build a school big enough to support those 750 units. So we have to figure out how we're going to bridge the gap between those two. So
Sounds like.
Thank you. I just couldn't hear very well back there.
Oh,
so
sorry.
thank you for
I mean,
repeating
that seems like something we could bring up with Jamie Eldridge to make sure that, because you're right, that's a mandate from the state that they're going to force on us, and then if they're not going to support it in other ways, it's no fair.
yeah.
All right, thank you. Yeah, and my only other final comment, Anna Houston, 55 Jennifer Street, is that I did go to the Shaker Lane Committee on April 11th and just made them aware that obviously these numbers need to be taken into account if at all possible. And I think because if the town also vets the numbers that were provided to us by Lipoli companies for the number of expected children, then that would at least provide a fairly soon number to the MSBA that's looking at this.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion.
Move the select board vote to execute the Massachusetts, sorry.
Sorry, we're gonna freeze you. Please come on up, Tatiana.
I guess just a side idea. Since our last town meeting regarding the situation, would it count to have accessory dwelling units essentially as a possibility of, let's say, mitigating some of that 750, because that's quite a volume of condos or like apartment kind of situations. So let's say, I've seen it based out in California, Boston, and the like, where essentially it could be small apartments like above garages, or like somewhere in the backyard where it's like almost like a mother-in-law apartment, or something along those lines. Is that a possibility of considering those to be
It is.
units?
It is. As long as it's zoned for it, and even outside the box, we haven't really got into the full discussion, but even assisted living facilities fall into this as well.
Okay.
So those are other options that we can explore, so.
I don't know if the in-law apartments necessarily count, because it kind of has to be like an area zone.
If it's zoned,
Yeah, no,
has to be something in
exactly
a-
for that accessory dwelling where you're like, it has its own like plumbing, electrical.
Yeah,
so-
but I think the way the state law is written, it's got to be you're zoning an area. You
Oh,
can't
yeah,
just say,
certainly.
accessory units spread out through town. It'd have to be much more clustered, so.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
yeah, we're still looking for an exception to policy, to see if we can start counting a little bit more of that development downtown as part of, I know it's only 20%, I think, that we're asked to have within is it a quarter mile? Half a mile of the MBTA station, but I know Senator Eldridge, when he was in here and we were speaking to him, he did write it down. We did talk to him about that. So we'll see if that number can move at all, because we are going to have a significant number above and beyond what's required moving in downtown, so.
No, perfect. Just so you don't have that
Yeah.
whole entire cluster
Yeah.
just around it.
No.
Because that's going to make traffic fun.
You're
So-
going to be the spokesperson because you're coming from that, so, you know.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Move that the select board vote to execute the Massachusetts School Building Authority, MSBA, feasibility study agreement for the Shaker Lane Elementary School.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
And I would just, I would sign it on your behalf, so with that.
Yep, you're all set. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. We are on to discussion and potential assignment of select board. This is our liaisons to boards, committees, and other vacant committee positions. So
That's right, and then, with that, too, with the changes in the board, then with the last election, some of this speaks to that as to some known vacancies, but also trying to provide the opportunity back to the board to see, if this is, do the board members want to continue on in those current roles, maybe a little bit more challenging to do both of these items without Chuck here. So this may be something for us to maybe, I might suggest to you, Mr. Chairman, to wait on, because then, you could at least look at the list, consider what sort of things that you all might want to be part of, and Karen, what you're interested in as the new member. And we could, I would suggest probably we skip over this for this meeting, but when we have full attendance, then, but you can at least begin to think about it now in terms of things you
Sure.
might be interested in,
And I know that it's Council on Aging specifically, that they had reached out, they had mentioned you had done it in the past.
Mhm.
I think Mark and I were on there because when we were on the Council on Aging.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we spilled over onto that. I think that's always been you, though, from
Yeah.
the Select Board, so if that.
But I do think a discussion about what we want out of this liaison
Yeah, and
process is
Yeah.
probably in line, because I don't think that many of these are, AgCom's a great example of a board, not only does the liaison not happen, we haven't heard from them in years, as far as I can tell. And so perhaps we should, again, as Mark has said many times, encourage boards to come and meet us and talk to us at least once a year before we assign a liaison.
That's fair. I don't think there's any rules to this. We don't have, there's no bylaw that states where we have to have members on these.
No, I don't think so. I think,
there's some critical things. I think it's going to be more generalized on what's going on in the community within the next 3 to 5 years. We're going to be focusing on where are these boards that we really need to have the pulse on what's going on.
Right.
Obviously, school committee, things like that with the schools and things. But
So I view the liaisons two different ways. Like, when Matthew was the liaison for the Council on Aging, he attended the COA meetings.
Yep.
I don't attend the ag meetings, but I have let the chair know that if he wants me at a meeting or wants to know anything about the select board, to reach out, that I will get the information from him. If he needs a select board member at the meeting, reach out and I will be there, right? So that's slightly different liaison rule than what Matthew was doing previously. So we kind of have to define what the role is, and the role might be different on different committees too.
It definitely is. I think at any time, if any of these committees or boards would like a select board presence, absolutely reach out through me, and we'll make sure we have presence at any given meeting. It's just, there are definitely some boards and committees here that we are going to want to have.
Right. So I would say that reach out to whoever the representative is, not through you, because that will just overwhelm you at a certain point. I will also say that I think the AgCom and the Shade Tree Committee should be coming before us in one of our June meetings. The AgCom has had questions with the assessor, and there's the request by Jamie Cruz to have certificates from the Board of Selectmen, so they should come. And I actually have been paying attention to what the Shade Tree Committee is doing, and they're talking about doing a bylaw change probably for the Springtown meeting, so it would be good to have them come in front of us and present what they're talking about, wanting to do. They've been in front of Conservation and the Planning Board to start talking about it, but they haven't been to our meeting, so it would be good to figure out what we can do for them as well. So I would suggest that, we come up with a rotation and just have all of these committees that we don't see on a regular basis come before us, on rotating meeting basis, and just work out a schedule.
I mean, that makes sense. And some that might not be needed on any given time, but I know, I'm glad this came up because CPC, Community Preservation, we're all aware of the requests that they have coming.
Yeah, I think
they reached out to me directly, so I want to make sure, requesting a meeting of 2 members, just to kind of getting the ball rolling on the possibility of an increase of our CPC funding and how to roll that out, and what our ideas are of a board and how we want to roll out that, give them some ideas. The timeline they're looking at is November for town meeting, and then on the ballot, ballot type things.
Yeah, I've talked to various members about that too. I'd be interested in helping with that.
Okay, so that one is probably sooner than later because that's a time sensitive.
And note too, like the CPC, that may be something where that's more policy driven, then maybe it's more appropriate that the chair and whoever else is part of the liaison process. So it's really, I think, also more, and I've had this in other communities who have had these liaison processes, that that the committees know that there is someone on the board that they can contact and reach out to them. So take for example the presentation from the Transportation Advisory Council earlier today. I mean, there's certain asks that they have of you, but you also need someone on the board sometimes to champion some of those things. So
absolutely.
So I don't even see that here. We have a lot of boards and committees, and this can be a bit overwhelming at times. So and hence maybe unintentionally taking not having it on the list. So it's just something that could be helpful. I've certainly found it helpful in terms of seeing it from the other boards members, that that there's certain groups that you're keeping in contact with, and that they know that they have you as a resource. But there's sometimes some broader things like the CPC piece. Like again, that may be something that even if we have someone who's assigned to have you be part of that too, because there is a broader policy.
Right, we're going to be a key part of that particular article, if you will, on how that's presented and what our thoughts are on how that should be presented over whether it's a period of years or all at once, or how, or if we're all even up for it. So it's definitely further discussion that'll be on our agenda, probably after 2 of us meet with Carolyn and her board.
So the Transportation Advisory Committee is on the second list, which has the boards and committees with the select board member representatives as voting members.
Okay.
So
we're So Matthew did provide me, you did give me the number of ones that you were interested in, I believe.
No, those were just what I thought were the highest priority ones that we had a liaison with. And it was about 5 of them, I think, that to me are like kind of non-negotiable. We should have a liaison. The rest of these, maybe we should handle them in a different way. And again, I think that's a topic for discussion for when Chuck is here.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
And then this is the other item, which is the appointed pieces. So this is the
same
Transportation Advisory Council. So there's Chuck is Chuck is our point person.
So the only question I would have on this one is the orchard. If we want to, we're going to have a discussion on the orchard momentarily. Do we want to
absolutely
keep the working group going, and who's the working group representation?
Yeah, I think we talked about it.
So I think Karen and I said we would do it. Matthew, you're currently on there. If you'd rather be on there, that's fine by me, but I'm willing to,
Okay.
I'm a masochist.
So I actually have been talking to the working group, and I'm trying to set up a meeting because they wanted to. They reached out to me to discuss another RFP. So we're going to talk about next steps. I'm going to talk about next steps with them.
Okay.
They had some firm comments about the first RFP process that they wanted to address.
Okay.
All right.
And if either one of you wants to join me, I would welcome you.
Go ahead.
Fight.
Arm wrestle you for it.
I mean, it's important to have one person on there. It sounds like you're the steady, if it's something where you guys, as you can.
I'm willing to do it. Karen has no other assignment, so.
It's just, it's not going away. It's one of those,
No.
as long as we have
No.
representation at every meeting and we're focused on.
Actually, Karen might be good because I think some of the complaints were about the process of drafting the RFP and it was overly burdensome. So it might be good to have somebody who can.
What I was going to suggest was if you wanted to, call me in to help during that RFP process.
Yeah.
I can lend some
Okay.
some value there, I'm sure, but I don't
I'm
think there's
willing to do
anything
it, I'm
wrong
willing
with
to not do
talking to whomever or calling on whomever
Okay.
between us is the right person.
Sounds good.
And again, I would hope to bring this back then at our next meeting when Chuck's here so that we can look at each one of these
Yep.
because, I mean, I don't think it's particularly fair to Karen to say, okay, you have to fill into the openings. So,
Okay.
I would think it'd be something,
All right, we'll go right down. Next meeting, we'll go right
Go
down.
through each
Sure.
one and
Yep.
determine who
It's
wants
like
it.
Halloween. We'll all dump out our candy and
Yeah.
start trading.
Yeah, so it's fair enough, so.
So some of them, is the town building and space needs working group still, I mean, I don't know that anything's happened on that. That's just the Shattuck Street.
Right. It is cyclical.
project. No, I don't think there's a working group anymore.
Oh,
It's
I see what you're
just-
saying.
I don't know that still exists.
Okay.
And I don't know the agricultural working group still exists either.
Well, that'd be a great one to volunteer for. There's no work, so potentially, we can. The clerk's here. I don't know if they've been having regular meetings. Maybe you could speak to that.
So in speaking with Will Pickard, he said that he wants to keep it on in case something does happen, and if you get rid of it, then they're gonna have to restart, and so he would rather that you not, disband the whole thing. So I did ask the question.
Okay. So I'll volunteer for the one that has no work.
All right. We're gonna move on. We'll share this, table this.
Okay.
Let's go on to, speaking of Madam Clerk, Town Clerk. We have our review, update on the May 6, 2023 election. Hello.
Good evening.
Hi.
Diane Corey, Town Clerk. So, as you recall, back in February and March, I came to you regarding the early voting and whether or not to do the mail-in voting. And that's pretty much the reason why I'm here this evening, to kind of give you an update of what happened. So initially, we sent out 7,478 postcards, and that was to every registered voter here in Littleton. And that cost, to make the postcards, was $2,392.96. So what did it cost us to mail them out? It cost us $2,639.40, for a total of $5,032.36. So we talked about, is it going to be worth it? Because we know that every other year, the odd years, this cost is going to fall on us, the town of Littleton. On the even years, hopefully the state is going to put that into their postcard. They're saying that's what they're going to do. So we're going to find out next year because they're going to have the primary in March, and so that'll come out and we'll find out if our election is actually on there. So what has happened is I've already put into the state system our election for next year. So hopefully when the postcard comes out, it'll say all elections, which will include the town election. So what happened when we sent out the 7,478 postcards? We got back 909 people responded and stated that they wanted to get a ballot. Of the 909 ballots that we sent out, we got 646 back. So what does that show us? 71% return rate of the ones that we sent back. It got sent back. Then we had 65 people requested absentee ballots, 51 returned at a 78% return rate. So as we look back at all of the voting in the past several years, we all know that this year we had 1,660 people voted. 1,000, let me just pull this up, 1,013 people walked through the doors on Election Day. 646 people voted absentee, early voting and absentee. Last year we had 1,220. The year before that we had 1,486. And the year before that we had 1,434. So did it help us? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Would those 646 people have come through the doors? If you look back on the past 3 years, it's about 1,400. So I want to think that they would have come through the doors.
I mean, we just got off the, I guess you will, the COVID emergency, so we were still in it during the election, right?
Yeah. So I have, I went back all the way to 2008. 1,300 people voted in 2008. 2,000 voted in 2009. We had a few smaller years. In 2013, we only had 975. But the average seems to be between 1,200 to 1,500 people that come through the doors on our voting. So I don't know. We think that it helped, but is the money output worth it? That's got to be up to you guys to decide whether that's what you want to do. Because we're talking, $5,000, and then it costs us another $800 to do the mailings. So everybody wants a chance to vote. We want to give them every opportunity to vote.
That's where we're at the end of the day.
That's the thing. You've got to now. So we've already missed the opportunity to put it in my budget for next year. Because it's always in that odd year, but the only thing next year we'll be able to do for the following year, but we're going to have to look at increasing my ballot.
Well, this would be a good year if you don't do it. That'd be the real identifier. I mean,
True. Right. So next year next year we won't have to do the postcard.
Right.
The only thing we'll have to be looking at is mailing them out.
Yeah. So.
About $800 and, well, maybe more, about $800 in postage.
I think my biggest concern is if a resident reached out to us and said, it's the only way that they could vote, thank you for doing it, or I need it to vote. I haven't had that. So the goal here is, I want everyone to be able to vote in Littleton that wants to vote, right?
Yeah. But absentee ballots will always be there.
Right, so that covers it. You're covered regardless, so.
And if you look at the numbers, let's say the best case is we averaged 1,200 voters, and for this election, we got 1,660.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say we got 400 extra voters and we spent $6,000.
Yeah.
So that's like $12 a voter. That's expensive.
How much does it cost to run the polls?
Well, you've got all the tax write-off workers, you have, yeah.
So we have, you're talking 12, most of the people that work the polls are, I would say 80% of the people that work the polls are senior tax people. And so you have 12 per shift. And they're 4-hour shifts, and so you have 36 people, and 80% of them, and so that's a minimum wage that they receive, and so.
We could do let's find the math. We probably could figure it out. Yeah,
So
I mean that's an important number too.
That's for them, and then it costs $2,800 for regular. Regular ballots, and then it costs $1,500 for absentees, and then it costs $900 for the memory cards for the regular machines, and it costs $750 for the handicap machines.
And do we have to pay extra for police detail?
And then we have, yes, and then we pay.
That'll always be the case.
Yeah, so that's 2 8-hour shifts.
It's like 50-something per hour?
58.
$48 an hour.
So another $800 for the police detail.
I mean, I'm on the side of this. I don't want to say regardless of cost, because that's kind of reckless. I'm more of what I said before.
Yeah.
If a resident of Littleton said that they cannot do this and this is what they need,
Yeah.
there wouldn't even be a question. So that's why I'm even thinking we can have the conversation.
Yeah, it's just a point of interest.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious what the cost.
No, I just, I had told you that I would come back and let you know what the numbers are and.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's
And,
some of these are a little surprising, actually.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of money, but I just want you to know that next year, when we come to budget time.
Yeah.
That's what these numbers are gonna come
Okay.
back to. So the budget's gonna be increasing to.
Thank you.
So.
Okay.
I want to hear what Mr. Houston, do you want to stand?
Do I need to come up there again?
Yeah, just so we can hear you. I don't know what the sound is back there.
This will take about a minute.
All right.
Rob Houston, 55 Jennifer Street. Thank you for hearing me.
Yep.
We have a $60 million budget.
I know where you're going with this.
This isn't much money, number one. This is a drop in the bucket for allowing people to vote.
Yeah.
That's one thing. The second thing is this, it's like muscle memory, right? We're just getting started in this process of mail-in voting. And it's gonna take some time. Like Colorado, where we moved from 7 years ago now, their participation rate is huge, but it wasn't in the first 2, 3, 4, 5 years. It takes time for residents of our town to learn, to understand, and then to do.
Yeah.
And so I don't think you can take a lot of direct corollary evidence from a single election that we paid for. This is the third election, or second, whatever it is, where we've done this, but it's the first one outside of COVID. So I think we need a few more of these in order to actually see, and the more people vote in our town elections, the better this town will be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's also, I also want to follow the state a little bit here. I want to see what the state does. Diane mentioned, they talked a lot about this early on, that they were going to fund this, right, every other year?
Yeah, so it's the odd years is when we have everything on us. Yeah.
Okay, so, all right, we'll have more discussion on this, for sure. Thank you for that update, though. Anything?
So I would say, if you just take it as a one-year sample, it was a huge success, right? We're up over 25% the voting from last year, and 15-ish% from the 2 previous years. And I know it's hard to take one election in isolation, but it looks like it was a positive effect, right?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems to have, it's too early to tell with only one data point, but yeah, it does seem like there's a significant number more.
And we can do analytics all day on, is it because 2 select board candidates are up as opposed to the one?
They like them better than
Are they
us.
contested races? There's a lot that goes into this besides.
No, I'm saying one data point does not make a trend.
No, absolutely agree.
But if you took the one data point, it is in the positive direction.
Yeah.
So
my thing is, I'm just going to keep going back to it. I want people to be able to vote that want to vote. I don't believe that just there is a point where, okay, we're sending all this out there for what? If people aren't going to utilize it, or they just don't want to drive down. I don't know. That bothers me a little bit. You're not doing your civic duty why? It's because you don't want to drive down.
Yeah. Well,
I think a reminder is important. I think that making sure people know when it is, where it is, absolutely, and taking care of the people that can't vote, or that can't make it to the polls through the absentee, which was utilized is more important to me than anything, but that's just me speaking. We need more data. And I mean, that's, that's the bottom line, I think, on this.
But one way to look at it is, between well, not even just counting the responses, the number of people that actually mailed in their ballots, either from the response or absentee, was like 9% of the registered voters sometimes. So it's a pretty big number.
Yeah. No,
right? It
surprised me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
No, I'm fully in favor. I don't, for me, my values don't align with choosing one form of voting over another or comparing costs. I'm interested.
Yeah.
But I don't think that because somebody mailed in their ballot, it's worth less than this person who drove up and
Well, it's definitely not
walked
worth
in
less.
person. So I agree with you that, you can't say at any cost, right? But to Rob's point, this is not breaking our budget. This is a reasonable amount to spend to help increase participation, which is what we all want.
All right, thank you. Good.
My bigger concern isn't the cost, it's whatever the impact on the staff would be, right?
Yeah.
We haven't even talked about that part. Let alone the,
That's for another day.
Yeah. All right, well, thank you, Diane. Thank you for that.
Thanks for having me.
Discussion regarding structure and dates for select board retreat.
Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, there's a few things I think I maybe just could ask the board and put out there one at a time to maybe help provide some guidance to us. So, the first thing is, of course, the board typically conducts, one retreat a year with new members, a board. I think that, it's probably prudent to do that. I've certainly found it to be useful in other communities. But then it gets to some questions about structure and such. So first thing I'd say that in the past you've used a facilitator, which as I understand it was Jeff Nutting in the past. And I guess the question to the board is that something you want to pursue again? Is a cost to that? As I understand, Jeff might be traveling in Europe for some portion of the upcoming month, but I can reach out to him if your experience with Jeff was a good one, or we can pursue it with something else, or we can try to do this on our own and try to, you have your options. So that's the sort of first question I'd put back to the board.
So I think I may be the only one who attended the Jeff Nutting show, the Jeff Nutting experience, as it were. I think there's value to it, primarily in terms of structure and focus. I think when the board does it by ourselves, things get vague, and I'm not sure that we really hit like what we want to hit. One of the things about Jeff was he sent out a questionnaire ahead of time and said, well, what do you want to get out of it? Which was really valuable just because it made us think about that. And then he allowed us to, he allowed us to wander a bit, but he definitely helped us focus. It could be that we can accomplish that without him, but I don't know. I haven't yet been to a retreat where we didn't have a facilitator, where things were really tight and scheduled and on point.
We had a facilitator last year. Was that who it was?
It was last year.
At the library, right here.
Yeah, we met
there.
here with him last year.
Were you part of that too?
Did I miss that?
Yeah.
We were here around the table, facilitator,
Yeah.
I must have not been here for that.
No, you were here.
I think we were
all here.
I don't remember that. Wow.
We were around a table right in the middle of this room.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what were your thoughts on having a facilitator?
I think it's important.
I think it keeps us on track and keeps us moving.
Okay.
Unless you want to be the facilitator. I think it's important to have one. I don't know if it needs to be contracted. I just don't know what your take is on it. If you have that in your wheelhouse to questionnaires, what we're trying to get out of it, and guide. I think that's the critical piece. You want it to be our time to be used valuably, to benefit from it. We get to kind of setting us forward on what we're trying to accomplish.
Okay.
And we want to define what we want to try to accomplish as well beforehand.
So we're not five
Yeah.
going all over the place. We at least have some type of
So along those lines, the other thing we did last year was we had a meeting with all the department heads over in 103, and they sat down and basically
Great
said
meeting.
what their goals were and what they needed out of us. And I thought that was incredibly useful as well, because then it kind of helped, it made it easier to align our goals or our direction with what they needed, rather it just has a connection to it.
Probably after our retreat, it would be, because then we're kind of set.
I think it should
we're set
happen
into
before.
our- You think so?
Yeah,
You think
before.
I think it's before our
But it's our
retreat.
goals driving.
No, I
No.
think we should take their goals into consideration when we do ours. I mean, I think that the departments have their focus and their goals, and they know what they can accomplish or what they want to accomplish. And I think us listening to that and like.
No,
taking
it's
that-
definitely important to listen. I'm just saying that at the end of the day, it's our, they can't conflict with what we're trying to accomplish as the elected officials of the town. So
Yeah.
it has to happen. I agree that it was very valuable to
It
go around and
happened
listen
before
to
last year, and
every.
I think it helped,
Yeah.
it helped set our direction better.
It did happen before? Okay.
Yeah, we did it almost immediately in May
Okay.
last year, and then we did the retreat in June or July.
And it wouldn't have hurt to have a second round of that later, at the
Yeah.
very end of the year, but I think the first one was valuable. It got, every single department head spoke around the room. Personnel issues, challenges, good things they had going on, kind of the year forward, what they were looking to accomplish. I think
It's like a SWOT kind of analysis where we give them the opportunity
Yeah.
to talk about, kind of go through the gamut.
yeah, and it gave, well, new members, definitely helped us, but also,
I think it helped the department heads too,
I think-
because they could figure out better how they could collaborate on things that they didn't necessarily think about collaborating on
Right.
beforehand.
now I know you meet with them to some degree in meetings as well, but this one was much more,
It was driven differently. It was driven by the department heads rather than like you
Yeah.
having you disseminating information. They were the ones that were disseminating
Okay.
the information.
We can do that.
So
Okay.
I thought, we did it for like 2 hours one day over in 103.
Yep.
We probably needed 2.5 to make it all the way
Yeah.
through, or we needed to have, a shot clock type
Yeah.
thing for the people to, you have this amount of time to talk, and
yeah, and it's all part of just getting to know the leaders as well. I think that's important.
Okay. And was, again, in terms of the facilitator, it sounds like it was that was useful. Again, I don't know what Jeff's availability is, because I understand he might be away, but if he's not available, do we still want to pursue that? And, everything.
It's tricky going out to a different I don't know who.
Nor I, but I'm sure that there are other people out there who do it.
Yeah, we can make arrangements. I mean, there's some thoughts about who else maybe, could do it. So, but it's just a question of whether or not the board views it as a valuable part of that process.
I think it's important to have someone else basically chairing the meeting other than one of the board members.
Yeah.
So
That's-
if you feel comfortable chairing the meeting and driving it, that's fine. If otherwise, we hire someone or find someone else that wants to do it. It should be like, we're participants rather than driving the meeting.
Sure.
Okay, we can look into that. Okay. The next thing I had, Mr. Chairman, is what date you'd be looking at. I believe the last time you had it was on an off meeting Monday night, so that's a possibility.
It was an off Monday, one of our in-between.
I think
yeah,
so. I think so. As a reminder, our remaining meetings for this fiscal year are June 5th. Next scheduled meeting would be June 19th. We're not going to meet on June 10th. We're going to be meeting on the next Tuesday, which is the 20th. So, the Mondays are a possibility. Sometimes, when I've done these retreats, I've done them on like a Saturday morning. Sometimes it's a little bit more relaxed, but I don't want to speak for people's schedules. I just, but that's something that could be valuable as well. So, any thoughts on dates?
So we're pretty much lined in there to the 12th or the 26th. That's pretty much, if you're looking at Mondays.
For the date, yeah, right, if it was an off.
If you're going to, I'd rather hear, I have a little bit more flexibility next month.
Are we talking daytime or evening?
That's really up. to you guys.
Yeah,
We
so I
we
think-
did it, we actually did it at the time of we would have had a normal, maybe a little earlier. We might
I
have
think
done
so,
like
roughly
five or
speaking,
six.
yeah.
but,
Mhm.
And we were out of here in a couple hours. But it can be evening, it can be, like Ryan said, if it's Saturday morning works, I don't like to interfere with weekends, especially with.
Do we want to do it before the end of the fiscal year? Is that the idea?
That one, I think so, because then we get into the goal setting, right?
And we also get into July and August too, which then everybody's,
Yeah, that's true. So, okay.
So we'll be proposing a new meeting schedule at our next meeting. And I think generally speaking, when we get into July and August, we tend to maybe skip a week here or there to in recognition of the fact that people are taking vacations, and it isn't as active a time. So part of it, in doing it in June is just to kind of set the table for the next fiscal year.
So talking about flexibility, if the Monday nights we're kind of used to, I don't know if that's something we are comfortable with. Or you can change it to anything, like I said.
I mean, would we be able to forego an entire meeting of regular business on a Monday night in order to do a retreat?
I think it might be challenging, because, even tonight's example, it fills up. It's a little hard to, I would tell you that from my experience, and that the retreat is important. I think a retreat would be particularly important for this board, considering everything that's been going on. And that, and with that, again, the Monday night's an idea. Again, my personal bias, and I hate giving up a Saturday too, but sometimes doing things are maybe a little more relaxed, a little bit more off schedule. But it's up to the board.
I kind of like the idea of doing it off like at a different time, so we're not actually in our same mindset.
Okay. All right.
Do you have an opinion, Karen?
I mean, for me, evenings are hardest.
Okay.
Would a weekend day be okay with you? Or would that be tough too?
It would depend on it would literally depend on the day. But I probably could make it work.
So, if I may, if we were to talk about those days, probably wouldn't say the 17th, because that would be the long weekend, the Juneteenth. So, then the following Saturday is the 24th.
Let's look at the 24th.
That's a possibility, and I also need enough time to then, if we're going to be looking at a facilitator, giving them enough time to get out the questionnaires and making sure that they're available, et cetera.
The 24th weekend is not good for me. I won't be in town that weekend.
We can.
Do we want to do it, I don't know about anyone else, but I could do like Friday afternoon or something too, if that's.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be okay with me as well.
Okay.
Yeah, Friday afternoon's a thought. So if that were then the 16th.
Matthew, when is the 23rd a possibility for you?
The 23rd,
The 16th.
no, probably the 23rd Friday afternoon probably is not a good.
What, the 16th?
The 16th is fine. That weekend's fine.
It's the 16th for everybody.
So,
Yeah.
So when you say Friday afternoon, what would you be thinking that would be doable? Like in terms of noon, 1, 2, what do you?
I'm wide open.
I'm wide open, so.
yeah, I can.
Chuck, right? We need to
Yeah, we
find out what.
You need to check with Chuck if that day
Yeah,
works.
I was just
So
double checking.
let's say that day. It sounds like that day's pretty open for most here.
good.
So if
The
it's
16th at like 1 o'clock or something.
right,
or-
if he can do it at.
Or 12,
Right.
I mean,
And we do something like that, we can bring in lunch, so you have something to eat, you're fed, and then you kind of continue on. So that's, okay, we can, all right, that's good. The next question I had, Mr. Chair, is the location. We've done it here. Sometimes doing something a little I mean, it really kind of depends on the day. So Friday afternoon, I think, I don't know, is the library open on Friday? Yeah, so, okay, so it would be, that's a possibility. Fire department might be a potential.
Yeah,
You know,
a little change of a
there's a
venue, kind of.
great room over there. Police gets a little more tricky because dispatch is right there. So, but, you know, thinking of those, or any other ideas.
I mean, I
that
think
people
that
might have.
room, that conference room at the end there is really nice. That would be a good place to do it.
So if that's available, if not, then we look at the firehouse, maybe, that's fine too.
What is that?
In your
What's that conference
backyard.
room called?
The Murray Room.
Murray Room?
Front yard.
Okay. We can look into that? Okay, very good. All right. And then the last thing I had was in terms of the agenda, and sort of what did you know, do you want to make this goals focused for the board? Do you want to talk about, I mean, there are a series of different things in terms of how you could structure this, and what you want to focus on. So, you know, it's a question of what you know, what the board would like to see in terms of an agenda.
Yeah.
Outside of goals, what are your other agenda potential?
Well, I think there's, you know, there'd probably be, you know, some personnel questions that we would probably want to, you know, we could potentially address. I mean, the goals cover a lot of it, so that if we, you know, if we were really trying to get serious about that, you know, there are things that spin out from that. So for me, first and foremost, I would think that looking at the goals and really trying to focus on those goals. Those are goals for, you know, there's goals for the board. There's goals for the town administrator. There might be, you know, there might be other things that you know, you want to look at. So you don't have to have an answer necessarily right now, but to begin to think about that and how it can be more. I mean, I think it's important, particularly for our new members, like, you know, Karen, what sort of things do you want to talk about? What sort of things do you want this board to accomplish? At the end, you know, we want to think about this to say, if we're in these same seats 1 year from now, what do we want to say that we've been able to get done? So, look more at.
I mean, I think identifying things that we want to address that may be a problem or friction points that are processes or, you know, personal interactions, that things like the you know, the dividing line between our responsibilities and yours is a great example that isn't formal, that I think would be
more conversation.
Really a good thing to have a very candid conversation about.
Charter commission.
Yeah, some of the issues that we've had in the past.
Structural issues of that.
Like a lot of stuff like that. And I think just, you know, what Jeffrey did at least was ask us, well, what do you want to, you know, what do you think the challenges are? What do you know, he had some questions about that.
And maybe even having that question that goes out can then help us craft what that agenda can be, because, you know, you want this to be a useful session, and you know, that's again, having someone who can facilitate that helps keep everybody on schedule and on tack. But I think those, you know, those sort of address the key things. So, you know, we have a tentative date. We can follow up with Chuck on that and check the availability. And and Friday afternoon is a good choice, because it tends to be a quieter period and sort of transitional period that allows us to kind of meet and, you know, and move forward. So.
And we are meeting before then anyway. So
right.
At least one more time, right? Yeah.
Right. So you'd be the next meeting after that would be the 20th for the Tuesday after.
Okay.
That's what we have on the calendar.
I mean, to me, ideally, we would start with board goals rather than individual goals.
Yes, that's not a bad idea too. Just what is a collective, whether it's policy driven, what we're trying to do as a group.
And then the individual goals, to my mind, would flow from there. And then if somebody perceives they still have bandwidth after that's done, and they say, I have a pet project or a pet peeve or something that, you know, I really want to focus on, then great. But I think, you know, one thing that would be really helpful to us as an organization is to have organization-wide goals.
Yeah, sure.
If I may, too, Karen, I think that's a good point, which is to say, like, are the that, you know, the goals that you're agreeing to, at least structurally, is good as a board goal, you know, that to have as one grouping. You know, the question becomes, in the individual goals, is that, you know, does that feed into the main goal or not? You know, so it's an interesting question, because it also gets to the bigger question of the board's role vis-a-vis town administrator, vis-a-vis town staff, and all things that I think, you know, we're trying to provide some parameters around. So I mean, that in and of itself is a good question.
What about the Prouty House over by, that's not, I've seen people use that house before for the forestry.
Neff, yeah, you can rent out that, you know, rent out that room.
That's not a bad little spot either, to kind of get away. Something like this. Are you familiar with that building?
That's right down the street, that's
Behind the
Great
park.
Park, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a neat little.
Yeah, you can get in touch, you could call New England Forestry Foundation. You could ask them to use that.
Okay.
Use that room.
So I will reiterate that I think having like a meeting with the department heads on, you know, some Friday, and just schedule it, and whoever can make it, you know, set it up as a select board meeting, and if we can make it for a Friday, you know, we close at noon or 1 o'clock, just make it whatever as early as convenient for the staff, and then we can listen to what their department goals are for next year to help feed into what we want to do.
That would be hugely valuable for me.
Yeah, I mean, we did it last year,
Especially.
it was effective, so I think we just continue on with that. That's a,
And would you want to have it so all the members could attend, or
As, I would set it up as a select board, you know,
Yeah.
figure out a Friday that you know, doesn't conflict with a holiday of a long weekend, and just set it up and post it as another select board meeting.
Yep.
And it's a much more informal, it's a not on camera meeting, it's just all the departments can come and say, this is what we're hoping to accomplish next year. You know, really the SWOT, like you mentioned.
well, like I said, not just that, they talk about the challenges and
Yeah.
things, so that helps us guide, okay, well, we know this board, this department's got a lot going on, we're gonna have to think that when we're doing our goals, maybe we
Yeah.
steer away from some things, maybe put on them, that's all. Yeah, good.
we could probably tentatively try to aim for the 9th.
And the other thing that kind of, just thinking as we're going through this goals, is we need to figure out your review process and what the goals are
Yeah.
going forward there too.
So that should be part of it as well then.
Yeah, but I just don't want it to get lost or take too long, and, you know, that, you know, it'd be nice to finalize the reviews by the end of the fiscal year, right? Since, you know, that's basically when things are based on, and not drag them out for months.
Yeah, so really the next 2 meetings, what I'll have to do is, that'll have to be on our agenda for the chiefs.
Yeah.
And
So-
then the town administrator, obviously.
Yeah.
The review process.
Yeah, I just didn't want
The
it to get-
interim's a little trickier because,
Yeah.
you know, we're on, you're doing it in chunks, so it's still good to have it the same, so it's an easy transition that, Ryan, if it's you, if it's not you, but your performance goals should be in whoever's in that position, because it shouldn't change.
Right.
It's the position, not necessarily.
But, you know, it should be noted too, that even, you know, both for myself and the Chief Clancy too, that we're also shorthanded in terms of what else, you know, in terms of staffing and what we're used to, so it's just something else to, if there was any sort of formal process, it's a little bit more challenging to, you know, to be accountable in the same way that if you were fully staffed.
Right, so the goals need to take that into account,
Right.
how much you can actually accomplish, but I think that's what the part of the process is, of presenting you, these 20 things we want you to accomplish, and you say, I can do 2, pick 2, right? And
I mean, this is.
Goals are supposed to
We're
be
not changing
achievable.
it here. We did this.
Yeah.
This is pretty much what we've done. We just have to now codify it a little bit more. This is.
But it hasn't been super effective, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think we need to focus more, have fewer goals.
Yes.
And really understand,
Yep.
somehow make them more actionable, like more specific.
Like
Because-
build the senior center. Well,
Yeah.
it's going to be built. You don't need it as a goal. You know,
Yeah.
so, right. Yeah. I'll sit with, Ryan, I'll sit with you.
Okay, I think I have enough that we can work with.
We'll get some stuff going back and forth, and then we'll blast it out.
Yeah, I think I have what I need.
Ryan, I just need to circle back. You mentioned the 9th for the department heads potentially, but that's the new member select board training.
Okay.
So I'll be there from 8:30 to 3 at Devon's.
It's most of the day.
Most of the day.
I will too.
All right. So.
Yeah, I think I'm there. I know
Okay.
I signed up for it as well.
I think, well, this is the new member select board training.
Yeah.
versus-
Well, they said anyone else can go.
It's worth going every year.
Newly elected select board training 2023.
Would June 2nd work better for people?
That's graduation night.
Oh, is it? Okay.
That'll be rough, yeah.
Well, again, we can, pick.
Doesn't have to be a Friday.
Well, I mean, we're June 2nd, and we'd be doing like 1 to 3 or something, so it's not necessarily going to interfere, so if we do it early enough.
You can run it by Chuck.
Yeah, he's the wild card because he's got his son's graduating. All
That
right.
would work.
So like.
Yeah, otherwise, yeah, I'm free.
So we're good on the 9th, Ryan. That's locked, right?
What's the
16th.
Oh.
16th, yes.
16th, right. 16th.
Right.
16th and tentatively on the 2nd.
Okay.
Early, if it's okay with Chuck.
Okay.
Or both of those dates
Right,
need to be run by
check.
Chuck. but-
Okay, that's good. That's helpful. Thank you. Okay.
What else do you need, Ryan, on that?
That's nothing else. No,
Okay.
I think it's plenty
All
to
right.
go with. Thank you.
We got 2 important orders of business. The vote, well, actually, this is your section, but I'm going to speak to it.
Sure, yeah.
Vote to approve the employment agreement with the interim fire chief, Tom Clancy. So let's, we discussed this in an executive session, so there's no further discussion on this.
No further discussion.
Just with a friendly amendment from Member Morrison regarding the use of.
In your versus
yeah,
insured.
Yeah. That's right.
Move the select board vote to approve the employment agreement between the town of Littleton and interim fire chief George T. Clancy for the period July 1st through December 31st, 2023.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, Tom. Second, we want to vote to approve the side letter of agreement between the town of Littleton and Littleton Police Unit, Mass COP Local 204. We had this discussion as well in executive session. I think everybody is at least comfortable with Chuck's side letter that he kind of added in the discussion, so we can move forward with this as well.
Move the select board vote to approve the side letter of agreement between the town of Littleton and the Littleton Police Unit, Mass Cop Local 204 dated May 22nd, 2023.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. That's that. Lastly, let's talk a little bit about NAGOG.
All of us?
Yes. Okay.
Talk a little bit about NAGOG.
Okay, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, just to give, wanted to provide, this was asked to be added to the agenda for, to give an update on where we are with the orchard. So the immediate term, we have the summer seasons coming up, and we have to maintain the orchard. So I have been speaking with our DPW director, Stevie Onley, about that. If you may remember, town purchased a tractor last year specifically for the orchard, although we can use it in other locations. So in speaking with Steve and thinking about what the most useful model would be moving forward, Steve thought this was something he could take on and provide some opportunities for his staff to get some additional overtime, some of whom have been very eager to want to do that. It also provides us with the opportunity for our high school and college students who last year had stepped up and worked on the orchard, will now could be channeled through DPW and can be working at the orchard, but also doing other activities for DPW as well, which we think would be useful. And also note that last year with the orchard, the team there did an outstanding job of cleaning up a lot of the site and getting that in place. So I think this year, the hope is that this will be more maintenance-oriented, and that we're a little bit ahead of the curve in that, so that the site does not become an eyesore. And the other plus I'd say with this, where we get into the fall, we're still going to have to be doing maintenance on the site as well. So when our high school and college kids move on, then we are going to have staff that are still available to run the tractor and again, knock down the grass and keep things at a reasonable location. So that's where we are in terms of the maintenance plan for the upcoming spring, summer, and fall season. I have separately, in terms of moving away from that and going into longer-term plans for the orchard, I've asked town council to come before you at your next meeting on June 5th to talk about what it would take to sell the property, give you an overview of, provide you with a memo, and then be present to begin to walk you through some of the variables of what it would take to move on and sell the property. But again, stated publicly with the intention of having the same use that the orchard has now, that it's being maintained for agricultural purposes. I would say, too, I think part of our process as we go through this, we know that there may be other uses when we look at the parcel for recreational needs, things of that nature, so that understanding what sort of limitations, so some of the parcels have been purchased with federal and state loans, which then gives the federal and state government rights of first refusal on certain portions of the parcel. So, or parcels, because there's multiple parcels. So I think part of this would be working hand in hand. We mentioned with the working group about how we would proceed forward with this, what sort of parcel, what components of the parcels might be useful for other town needs that we have, and taking all those things into consideration. So again, this is kicking off this conversation and having town council come to you. The task that I've presented to them is, this is a project. We want to give the board some idea about what's in front of them to be able to do this, and potentially look at this as something we could present to town meeting in the fall, potentially, and ask for permission to move forward with that. But we have to give it some thought. We have to be able to do so tactically, and also consider when the town purchased the site, there were certain thoughts about how it could be used and what would be done with it. Things that maybe have changed since then, and there may be some things that we have other priorities as to what other uses could be brought into consideration. If so, maybe something else. We look to some of our other committees, agricultural, our Parks and Rec Committee, and really thinking about this sort of as a whole in terms of what our needs are. But it all begins with you.
It's such a valuable resource, the land, that any part of that land that can be kept with the town, I think, is important. Any use of that property around it, I've always said, for a walking trail or a cross-country trail would be nice, but I think more so any piece of land that's not going to be used by this potential purchase, I think it's just so valuable to the town. Right.
And I think it's part of what we're trying to get at. What parts of this could be used for active recreation? What parts of it could be used for passive recreation?
Even if we're thinking 5-10 years down the road of what we think it could be. Right?
Fair enough, right.
So I was just going to suggest we invite the Orchard Working Group to that meeting so that they can hear the same thing in real time, and we're not conveying it to them later. The other question I had is on the house itself or the other buildings. Do we have to get like the building commissioner or someone else out there to make them as rodent or tight as possible before anything else happens, and
So,
the highway's not necessarily going to be doing that, so.
Right. So, I mean, in terms of the house, water shut off, there is a separate electricity that needed to be brought onto the site. That's there, but otherwise, the building is pretty much shut down.
I'm more thinking like, is there making sure there's no broken windows or, clapboards that, rodents and things can get in and we have to do more damage to.
And I think that's,
that type of thing that
that's
we need
part
someone
of
to go out and inspect.
Right, and I think that's part of the charge to DPW to be, they are on site to be able to be going around. And also, it's one of the things I talked with Steve too, is that, you're checking on it to make sure there's no other nefarious activity that might be going on. And so with those eyes on the site, that's how we...
Yeah, this is the accountability piece we really didn't have last year. We were all over the place, I think, this year. I'm glad Steve is coming on board with this because he can definitely manage that piece and bring things to our attention.
And we might bring it to the attention of the fire and the police department to,
right.
check on the building on a regular basis. And
right, and that becomes a bit of a challenge in the sense that, the police are going through there on a regular basis. I certainly have seen, patrolmen, in the area. But the lead on that there is DPW and being, on site and checking in on things and making sure that, things are in generally good working order.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
But we can invite the working group to that meeting, and again, it's intended to be just more informational.
Yep.
I don't think that the board necessarily has to be taking any action, but if we are getting serious about thinking about getting the property ready to be sold, there are because of the means by which we purchased the property, there's a lot we have to take into consideration.
Personally, I'm really online with not just throwing the lease idea out because I'm not sold that the town is going to vote to sell that property.
Mm-hmm.
So I want, and if that happens, I don't want us to be here like, oh no, what now? I think if there's any way to keep that lease side open and running, is that option.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the working group is, I think, in favor of giving that one more try at least.
Yeah, throw it out, another RFP out there. And
I think when we throw it on I think just playing out the timeline in my head, right, I think we go to fall town meeting and ask for permission to sell the property, and immediately after fall town meeting, we put out an RFP for either buying or leasing, or there's no reason we can't always go with the lease option, even if town meeting allows us to sell it.
I just want to keep that open.
I agree, but I don't think what we're doing between now and fall town meeting prevents us from doing that.
No, we're doing the right thing here.
I just strongly emphasize again, the problem with the lease
I
is
know.
the numbers don't work. The numbers just don't work. And there's nothing that's going to change the underlying economics of this in terms of a lease arrangement that anyone is going to be making a long-term investment other than when they own the property.
Then we shift to outside of sale. If the town is going to do it, then we need, what's the other, well, all right, the town owns it now. We own it. There's a cost to owning that property as a town, and then we have to get serious about, here's the cost, Littleton.
Right.
And maybe we need that as part of the presentation.
So I think we need to do a good job at town meeting explaining why it's in our best interest to sell the property and why it's in the best interest of someone to buy it rather than lease it. Like, if they own the property, they can apply for grants that aren't available to them if they're leasing the property, right? And why it's in everyone's best interest to sell it. We do have to do a sales job.
I'm not there yet, Mark. I want to get there, but I'm more at...
No, that's fine. And there's probably a lot of people aren't there yet, but it's hard to be there when you don't have all the information, so.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ryan. Minutes. Any discussion on the May 8th minutes? If not, I'll look for a motion.
So the only thing I was going to say is that Christine said a lot more than is captured in the minutes. So I don't know if there should be more of what she spoke about in the, I mean, Yeah. I don't know if what is said here really reflects entirely what she was saying.
If you look at Chase and Michael's summaries, there's some specifics about what they talked about. But Christine, yeah, there's nothing about
It
any of
basically
Christine's
says that
narrative.
no one's ever talked to her since 2019. And I don't think it needs to go into the full detail of what she said. It's just.
Well,
I don't know what it should say, though.
Well, that's the thing. I mean,
so
we either, if you have something you want to put in there, we can do it. I mean,
We can ask that these be updated to include more detail.
So I'm willing, I haven't had a chance to go back and review the meeting to say what Christine said and what I feel should be incorporated. I just don't feel that there's enough of what Christine said incorporated. I don't know if others agree with me or not.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I guess to what end? I'm looking, that's what I mean, like.
Yeah, because, well, the minutes should reflect, kind of what was said more so that people don't have to go to the videotape. And this basically says she came and said that she hasn't been before and hasn't been contacted in 4 years. I'm willing to take a stab at going back and adding points, or we can ask, I forget who does our minutes to incorporate more. I'm willing to work on this and postpone voting on the minutes for this meeting unless other feels strongly. So.
Yeah, I'm not gonna, I don't have a problem with, unless there was something in there that, in other words, the board's not voting critically on anything that, Christine presented. We're not taking any actions. We're not, so I don't know, but I'm willing,
I
I'm fine.
agree with you on that too.
I'm fine.
But it's just like, seems an abbreviated version of what she said.
Sure
more
is.
abbreviated than it should be.
No, good. Let's hold off then, absolutely. All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Littleton.
Good night, everybody.
All right.
Good evening, everybody.